I think we're live, buddy.
There it is. It looks like it. It said stream is live. So this is my first. You've done this before.
I'm taking your virginity, am I?
Yeah. Is Mr. Infamous going to join us tonight, or?
Well, I don't know how I should even tell you this. I was going to say, sadly, he can't.
What?
But yeah, the bugger's down in Florida.
What's he doing there?
Well, so that 93 Cobra that his buddy Lewis built.
Oh, yeah.
So they never got around to painting the door moldings.
Okay.
So he was rolling naked at, where did that thing debut? I guess Foxtoberfest, I think. And yeah, so he was going down to help him paint those and put them on and kind of do a final reveal video. And then obviously they got their lifelong friendship too. So the gals know each other. So they're just kind of down there hanging out as well.
Okay. So he's bailing.
But don't feel sorry for him.
I don't feel sorry for him. I just feel even though he's on vacation, he should be joining us.
Well, one would think, right?
I
No
would
rest
think.
for the wicked.
Exactly. That's, he's the infamous project. He needs to continue to be infamous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
now, we do. Okay, I see some people kind of joining here. So, folks, maybe just so we can work ourselves through the technical bugs here initially, if somebody doesn't mind, like blasting a live chat comment or whatever, we'll just make sure that we're all kind of tightened up on the tech end before we really get rocking and rolling here. Because I seem to remember people chiming in like quite quickly, and well, here, maybe I could post something up and see what happens too. Test. Oh, here we go. Okay, Kyle says, hey, nice.
what's
Blue
going
car
on,
guy.
Kyle?
All right, and Bill, you don't get these on your end, do you?
I can't see anything. I can't see the comments, so you're going to have to relay if somebody has a question or if we're in a discussion or whatever. So unfortunately, I can't. It's not showing, and I looked in the settings. It doesn't give me that option.
Right.
You're the Lord and Master here, so you have all the power.
So. Yeah, I need a staff or something, eh?
Yeah, like a trident or something. In Canada, I don't know what you have over there. A hockey stick.
Totally.
Yeah, and so let me just say before we start getting into everything. Oh, I see something now. I see it on the bottom there. This is Carlos from Kenny Bell.
Yeah, I highlighted that one. So Carlos from Kenny Bell. Cool. Glad to have you on here.
Yeah, okay, so I can see something. I saw that. So speaking of that, I talked to Glenn Robitaille earlier today, and he told me to make sure and tell you that he's very disappointed because you're not much of a Canadian, because instead of doing this, you should be watching the big hockey game that's on tonight.
Well, I'm going to be honest, buddy. This is a big topic, one that kind of touches me way down deep in the feels, because, I mean, you've pretty much got to be hiding under a rock to know what happened during the last game. Yeah. And now, I'm saying this from the perspective of it's not the win or the fights or the whatever. It was the anthem. And
okay.
I want to
the new anthem.
Well, no. So yeah, no, there's that too. And you and I have already talked about that many times.
Yeah, okay.
No, so there was some booing going on during the American anthem.
Oh.
Yeah, did you not hear this?
No, I haven't heard that. Nope. I've been engrossed in my work business these days. I haven't been on. Yeah, interesting. I did not know that. Well, that's sad to hear.
Yeah.
Despite what's going on, I mean, you know me a little bit, and perhaps whoever's watching. I mean, I'm very incredibly patriotic, regardless of anything. I'm not getting into anything political, but at the same time, I've always been that way. So, and then I have a great love for Canada as well. My whole life, obviously, we here in Detroit, we go south to get to Canada.
Yeah.
And just have always been there, just from the time I was a kid going to Canada and doing that. Yep. So it's been great. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a tough one for me. I actually watched the game later on after the anthems and stuff, and kind of this almost broke the internet for obvious reasons. Right. And I mean, I actually reached out to a handful of people apologetically. Right. And I mean, I'm sitting here like listening to you talk about being patriotic and stuff, Bill, and I think like I want to like I guess for anyone that feels the way I do, I want to apologize from the bottom of my heart for my countrymen and the way they acted, because I know there's a lot of BS surrounding this. And quite honestly, it is a lot of BS that we don't need to get into, but like no one should ever be doing that kind of stuff. That's absolutely horrific.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously we're more than neighbors. You know, I mean, we know a border shares. We share the same continent and
Yeah.
language. I mean, well, for the most part. Sorry for the people from Quebec, but no, for the most part, you know, and it saddens me a little bit to hear that, but you know, it doesn't surprise me. And again, we don't need to get into that. Let's talk more important things. Let's get into some good old fashioned Fox chassis stuff, which is one of my favorite subjects, and I know yours as well. So,
Oh yeah, 100%, buddy. Yeah, that's when you throw the politics out the shop door and
exactly.
get into the good stuff, right?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
okay. And sorry, guys, I'm seeing comments, but I'm not really kind of mentioning them and stuff. I've seen quite a few buddies jump in here. So thanks everybody for joining. And Bill, I guess I should say officially, thank you too, buddy, for taking the time. You are the first guy that I thought of when I bought this car. I went, I will never, ever do it enough justice unless I got you sitting here with me and we can go back and forth and I can kind of show things and you can talk about it. Cause I mean, you're the 4i guy.
Well, thank you for the nice compliment. I appreciate it. I love the cars, and you know, there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way and know about them as well. So it's an honor to be here. I appreciate you having me on here. I love the car, and from the beginning, I know you shared it with me when you got it, and so I was thinking about that. You know, kind of thinking, okay, you know, what are we going to do in my head? And one of the things I need to point out is I'm still cracking up every time I think about the car and I see it in the background, is you bought that car thinking that it was yellow with a blue interior.
I did.
And you told me, you're like, it's yellow with a blue interior. And you showed me some of the door panel. I mean, I guess we'll look at that later, but I guess it had a little bit of fading and that black kind of looked blue and you thought it was blue. And your first video, I remember I think you said that when you went with your wife to pick it up. And I'm like, oh, Gary.
Rookie, right?
No,
Rookie
it's
mistake.
funny. It's just because I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, ooh, yellow with a blue interior. I'm like, well, maybe some sports teams have that, people are going to like that color combo, but I mean, maybe it was like navy blue or something but the blue that was offered in 79 is more of a, not royal, but a brighter blue than what you were thinking. So, but that's definitely black, which is a nice color combo.
Yeah. I know. I think I even cut a joke going, holy smokes. Like, was this a blind person's car, right? Yellow, blue, and wood grain. Like,
yeah, exactly.
What are we thinking here, right?
Yeah. Well, fortunately it's black. And maybe a little bit of fading, got us some blue in a couple places, but for the most part, it's a nice little unit, and I'm glad you were able to pick it up, and if memory serves, not getting into that, you picked it up for a song as well. So,
yeah, I know. I guess for anybody that kind of doesn't know the high level on it, a friend of mine at my local Napa, I went in to get some parts, and he was helping me out. He, parts guy there, and he says, hey, have you seen that 79 for sale on Marketplace? I said, nope. I kind of haven't done a search in a little while. So got on there that night, found this car. It happened to be sitting at a used car lot of all places. And I ran down there the next day, had a look at it. And the salesman, like a very general salesman, right? Knows a little bit about a lot. But didn't know a whole heck of a lot about these cars. So I was kind of showing them what I was looking at and what I was looking for and pointed out a few of its flaws. We'll go through these, but there's a fairly significant one in the trunk. The shock towers are getting a little tired, things of that nature. And anyway, at the end of it all, I said, hey, are you guys open to offers? They said, sure. And, if you guys have paid attention to anything I've done over the last handful of years, I'm very busy, family and whatever else. Like, I really don't need this car. So like a real raunchy low level offer. Like if it stuck, okay, great. But if it didn't, no big deal, right?
Yeah.
So I came in low. His sales manager told me to pound sand. And then I said, okay, great. You know, that's the universe speaking to me. I'm out of here. And I got half a mile down the road. My phone rang. He said, come and get it.
Yep. They didn't want to mess with it. So,
Yeah. So,
wow,
but yeah, that's how it came into my possession. And it's literally, it still has the permits hanging in the windows, ladies
you
and
haven't
gents.
done
Like,
anything with it then, eh?
I drove it in and it's kind of moved a couple times. I've had some buddies come by and look at it. It's been started a few times, but that's it.
Okay.
So now I guess, buddy, maybe we'll do a little walk around. And as we're doing it, you can, you know, kind of,
Yeah.
we can start telling some stories about it.
We got a few people with us, or oh,
Yep.
I lost you.
Oh, okay. I turned cam
There you go.
off. I'm gonna change my camera angle, I think, here. I hope. Bear with me here, ladies and gents. Settings, camera. We want back camera. Okay. What are you looking at there, Bill? You looking at the car now?
There it is. I see it. Yep. Good job.
Perfect.
Got
Okay.
it going.
Okay. The 79 in all her glory. I guess maybe we should point out some of her bumps and bruises first. She's got quite a few. Now, funny story, I'll find this when we get into the interior, but I actually found the original ownership card of this car. It was an MK Bauer with very nice handwriting. So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and assume it was a gal, right? Maybe like a Mary Kate or you know, Mary Lou something, you know what I mean? But
Yep.
went by her initials, so an old school gal. And I think, like I say, she might have drove by feel, right?
Well, if she had it since 79, you got to figure by the time you picked it up last year, she was probably up there in age, I think.
Yeah, right. So door's been, you know, dinged and now she does have the little tiny wheels on it, right? So I was gonna say like there's not much curb rash on these wheels, but there's lots of tire to avoid curb.
Yep, those are the optional 14-inch aluminum wheels. And initially, I think I told you I wasn't sure that they were on, but yeah, they were offered in 79. So as an aluminum wheel instead of the TRX wheel, that's what you got right there.
So would this be like most of them came with this and the TRX was the upgrade?
No, most of them, I mean, the majority of 79s that I've seen, I mean, they came with different hubcaps. They had quite a few wheel options. And this was an upgrade, a more expensive aluminum. So it's a 14-inch wheel because, as you know, the TRXs were metric.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So this is kind of like the premium, one of the premium upgrades for the wheel in 79.
Oh, hot damn.
Yep. Because it's an all aluminum. And again, I remember your initial video. You were like, "Oh, hubcaps," and you went to do it. And so yeah, they're not hubcaps. Just obviously around the lugs, you have little caps there, but it's an aluminum wheel.
Japers, hey? High end, built for speed.
There you go. I don't know about that, but go ahead.
Yeah, and then obviously the chrome package. I'm gonna guess that this was probably a bit of an upgrade as well.
Well, that since okay, so it is a Ghia, okay.
Right.
And so one thing that some people, perhaps they might say, but the Ghia, that it's correct to have body color or painted mirrors, and then the trim around the doors and around the quarter windows. If you get over there, that is how it came. It should have come like that.
Okay.
And later on, they just had it black. But some of the on the early cars like that, that's what they did. So around the windows, that is an option. So you had the chrome or bright trim around the windows, and a 79 only feature. Since we're looking at it right there, which I really think is cool, is on the top of the door. So I guess you'd say a belt line, and right into the window there. So if you go down onto the right there, yep. So that molding, that's a 79 only piece. You see it right below the quarter window and right below, yes. And
Okay.
and so you see obviously both sides, but goes on the door as well. And they drilled holes in the top of the door to put those in. So I'm not sure if it was at that point a corrosion issue. I think it probably was a cost issue as well, because they deleted that pretty quickly. The next year it was gone.
Right.
And it was just and then they didn't bring anything back like that, as you know, until 87.
Right.
Had the different, the belt line, of course, across the top, which ran into the mirror and into the quarter glass on an aero car.
Well, yeah, and this even carries on up past the mirror too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a neat little piece. I mean, but again, that's a 79 only thing. And by the next year, it was definitely gone. And then, as you see later on, the color keyed mirrors and the trim around the door and around the quarter glass that became black on most of them. Now, if it was a 79 Cobra, it would all be blacked out. But the Ghia, that's what you got on the Ghia. And then you had the bright trim, and the bright trim carried all the way through 1986. So you have your bright your chrome door handles and bright locks and bright trim around the quarter glass and around there, and then around your rear, you can see around the rear glass, and of course the windshield. And something that I personally like, I kept it on my 86 notchback just because I like the bright trim. It's different. You don't see it there often.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, speaking of Ghia, we still got the Ghia logo back here too.
There it is. Yeah. So interestingly enough, obviously you have the Ghia there, and then the Ford is on the left side, the driver's side, where Mustang is on the right, where they swapped that out later on, where it said, Mustang LX or GL or GLX or whatever the trim level. So the early ones got the Mustang on that side, and then later, of course, as you know, because you have one, they put the Ford oval on the passenger side.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Here's proof of that dealership I got it from too.
Oh, is that's the name?
Oh yeah. They even gave me, I don't know, I probably threw it out. Like, they had license plate surrounds and all the stuff, right?
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Well, at least it looks like a vinyl decal. You can peel that off there, because that's not the original dealer. So
no, God,
you don't have to worry about it. So while you're there, and let me point out, so a very unique feature. I mean, you and I have talked about that in the past on early. So basically from the beginning of production in 79 till about mid-year. Now this car, yours here, was built in April of 79. So according to what I know, there really isn't a date anywhere, but it has a flat deck lid.
Right.
So if you look above, so on a regular, well, let's say mid-year 79 all the way through 93, from the left to the right, it would curve upward above where the lock is, and then you have a little ducktail on the standard ones.
Well, buddy, I didn't plan this, but check out how slick this is going to be.
Oh, look at that. There you go. Okay. So yeah, you can see it, one way to tell, obviously, from left to right, it curves up, and then you got the little ducktail, you got the little kick up. So
might be easier to see from this angle.
Yeah. So that's standard. That's what everyone is used to. And then if you go back to the 79, you can see the flat deck lid, which again, they got rid of that. And I was curious. So a friend of mine at Ford, who technically my boss, who's also a huge Fox geek, he actually looked up the print for the change, and it shows in there. It shows the adding of the little ducktail and the print, handwritten print, by the way.
Really?
And it was an aerodynamic feature. There was something it was mentioning aerodynamics. So that little ducktail, for whatever reason, it actually adds some either downforce, but it's an aerodynamic thing. but unique again to the early 79s. And so just an interesting little feature that you don't see. Obviously a lot of the cars are rusted and gone. But you can tell an early 79 by that if you care to look at it.
What's funny, buddy, is like it's such a like when I go back and forth between the two right now, it looks very pronounced, but it's something that if you weren't looking for it, you could go right by it and think nothing of it.
Yeah. A lot of people don't have, so perhaps people on the video, they're getting educated to maybe buy that, but a lot of people just have no idea. They've never heard of this because it was such a short-lived thing. And, I'm not even sure, I've heard different things over the years, like, corrosion protection, like these deck lids have a tendency to rust more than the later ones, but I guess it depends on where you're located, but just a little feature. And, a lot of people think, it's ugly, and they like the little, the little lip, the ducktail there, like I said, and the curvature on the later deck lid, which is what you find.
Right. I should maybe give this a little wipe because, yeah.
Oh,
it's that dirty.
Okay. All right.
And actually, the reason why it almost looked as if it had like that little ducktail on it is I got the Infamous Project's spoiler. I was teasing him. I said, hey, look, I added 80 horsepower to the Ghia by putting one of your spoilers on it, right?
There you go. Yeah, a lot of people have, I see a lot of spoilers. People will cover them up and things like that. And if I may mention, I do have a good friend who inherited his grandmother's early 79. And he, of course, being a Michigan car, it's pretty rotted and pretty rotten. So if anyone out there has a 79 deck lid, he's looking for one just to restore his grandma's car.
Totally. Danny Sublet's going to make you blush here. I just put the comment on the screen for you, buddy.
Jeez. Thanks. I appreciate it, Danny. Yeah, I like you. I love these cars. So thanks for the kind words.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on. So that's I guess I can't tell from the video. That's a rear defrost car, correct?
It is. Yeah. Okay. She's a true Canadian car, this one.
Okay, there it is. Okay. Yep. And then if you look, you can probably see a little bit where it looks like the seats maybe are faded a bit. Maybe that's where you got where it looks blue.
Oh yeah.
But while you're back there, one of the things, I mean, when we get into the interior. So when I did some research on the car, this beautiful yellow unit had just an AM radio factory, and it has dual rear speakers. That was an option. Ooh. So you should be, I don't know if yep, there you go. You can see some of the holes back there, but it should be kind of like is it a cardboard or is there a mesh? I can't see through the window. What does it look like to you? Oh, it's the mesh.
It's a mesh. Yeah.
Okay. So that's a Ghia. They did have a cardboard for some of the, so that's kind of a one of the options in the car where some of them got just a plain colored cardboard, and the Ghia got that little mesh, which is a little upgrade in there. But yep, she was equipped with dual rear speakers, so you had all the 300-400 watts per channel in there, I'm sure. Right?
Well, it's funny, and this will come out when we get into the interior, but there is one aftermarket upgrade to this car, and I'm 99% sure I know what it is. I think it's an AM radio booster.
Oh, so you have a little knob or a switch, or?
Yep. I think the old gal, she must have liked going to the drive-in theater, maybe sneaking in a box of Boons or something. I don't know.
Box of Boons. Oh Lord, that's hilarious.
Here's more of her driving by feel, though. Hey, like jeepers.
Yeah,
she really rubbed her out.
Got some wrinkles. That's okay.
Yeah. Oh, and the Canadian/Northern car undercoat.
Yep, I was going to comment on that. Yeah, obviously with the bright trim, also you can see you got the bright rocker trim, but of course many people don't know that all Canadian cars, all Canadian Mustangs, received the lower body side treatment to protect them from the salt and road chips and rust. I guess probably because all the roads in Canada are dirt, right?
Yep. Well,
Okay.
and sadly enough, so I've talked to some friends about this. I don't know if I've kind of squawked about it on the internet, but with the body kit and this being a Canadian car and not really ever seeing a whole bunch of paint, I still have it on mine too.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I had an 80, my first GT was an 84.5 GT. And I remember going to look at the car with my dad, and it had the optional, you could get the lower body side, the rock guard. And I came up to that and I'm like, what the heck is on the bottom of this thing? Did he undercoat it? Or, and then my dad explained to me what it was because, obviously at the time it was hard to wax it and hard to clean it. And I wasn't real happy because it was a black car. So you had a nice shiny black, and then you got down the bottom of the car, and it's all this. But I guess it protected it, and I don't know whatever happened to that car. I sold that and moved on. But
yeah,
only one I've ever owned with it.
I know it's definitely not a real attractive way of dealing with something, because it loses all the shine. But oddly enough, like it's one of those things that, well, I guess especially with this thing now that it's so bloody low, but like your eyes don't really go to it, right? Because it's on a weird angle.
Right.
So you can almost kind of skate through the weeds with it, but put it on a hoist or get on a knee or something. You go, what the hell is that? Right.
Yeah. It's because it's kind of wavy, dimply a little bit, but hey, at least you have it. It's good. It adds some protection.
Yeah.
And it's, a uniquely, well, I can't say that it's majority Canadian, but it was an option on some of the early Foxes in the States. You could get it as well. So,
right.
Yeah. So Gary, zoom in on the antenna for me, would you?
Okay.
Okay. That's just,
there's my camera.
Okay. Interesting. So that is that's not a Ford antenna, to be honest with you. That's like an aftermarket. I kind of had a feeling.
Oh.
And it looks, did somebody cut it? It looks like a little angle on there.
Or did it looks like it's been, somebody's work hardened it and snapped it kind of thing.
Okay. So basically that comes as you know, you pop the cover off the regular Ford antenna, and then got the 4 screws that hold it there, where that aftermarket antenna, as you see, it has 2 flat spots. It should right on the base there. Yep. Yeah, there you go. You can unscrew it. So yeah, that's an aftermarket, which is interesting. I wonder, with the AM, I wonder what kind of antenna it had, or if it was they replaced it, or now it still has the AM radar. Does it have a stereo in it?
Nope. She's got the original. I mean, we've kind of whatever. We can come back out. Actually, you know what? I got to do it this way for you, Bill, because this is one of the most impressive things for me. Ready, folks? Listen to that.
Well,
if that doesn't make you want to jump off a bloody bridge, I don't know.
You have the keys in the ignition?
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Did you have the keys in the ignition?
I did.
Okay. Okay. Put the key in the ignition.
Okay.
Well, so the buzzer stopped. Yeah, put it in. Okay, and then turn the key forward, but don't start it. Is the other okay? Because usually there's 2 buzzers. Maybe one just finally gave up the ghost.
No, it does change tone.
Okay, so yeah, probably the buzzer. They do tend to go bad. So you'll have a buzzer when the door's open, and you'll have a buzzer when you turn it on. It's a dual buzzer, so it's a pretty crazy. When they're new, it's a pretty crazy sound, to be honest with you. Those of you guys that don't know that, yeah. Oh, there it is. There's the original AM radio. Okay.
Yeah,
very
original
cool.
AM. And now, okay, actually, I hadn't thought this far ahead regarding the rear window defrost, but here it is here, hey?
Yep. You have to have the car on, of course, to have the light should light up. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So non-AC, obviously. So really, no options per se. I mean, you do have rear defrost, which is unusual. And then I'm assuming, well, we'll get back into the interior. Let's do some exterior stuff and finish up with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's my little booster.
Yeah, that's probably what that is. Probably a signal booster. Yeah.
Definitely not a bass booster, I'll tell you that much.
Okay. 2 speakers in the rear, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, outside of definitely needing some, body tightening, I don't know. But like everything works. Like I should maybe, while we're outside here. And one of the things that will scare a lot of people, and I mean, this typically scares a lot of people in the aero cars. Get a load of this, folks.
Oh,
Under hood light works and everything.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Like the car is just such a bloody trip.
That's cool.
Like, and I'm sure, again, this kind of builds off the story of the little old lady. Like, I'm sure she had it in, every 6 months and had things looked over and whatever, right? So I guess there was really no reason for it to ever start losing some of these amenities, right? They probably tuned up the oil, put a couple new bulbs in her, and just kept her, rocking and rolling.
Yeah. Nice. So, Gary, do me a favor if you could while you're there. Take a look at the headlights for me and see in the center of the headlights, have they been replaced? Did they say anything at all on any of the headlights?
So like this guy says halogen.
Okay.
This guy says nothing.
Right. Okay. Go to the other ones for me.
This one says, oh boy, what is that? KOITO maybe?
Okay. That's a replacement. And what's that one say there?
Nothing. Actually just says sealed beam up along the top.
Okay. Interesting. So you have you've got a couple of original 79 headlights in there, buddy.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. They haven't all been replaced. So the inners should say nothing.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your outers are going to say just halogen, which they do on that side. So that's how it should be there. Those are, it would say like Sylvania halogen or Wagner or something if they were replaced.
Okay.
The fact that it just says halogen means that they're original headlights.
And back when glass was a thing.
Yep. Yeah. Well,
Wild.
to be honest with you, up through 86, they all had glass. They didn't have Mustangs did not come with the plastic headlights. They did make them. And funny that you say that. I did have some friends back in the day, and I even fell into that where I bought the plastic headlights. And, if it's kind of silly now to think that, 4 glass headlights versus 4 plastic headlights are going to save some weight.
Right.
So, but that's why people did it back then. They're like, hey, I've got all plastic headlights. I'm saving weight. I'm like, okay, well, as a kid, maybe that made a difference, or, a bunch of little stuff adds up, but it was a thing back in the day. So
really, hey? Geez,
yeah.
I mean, like you say, you throw a couple cans of Coke in the cab and you probably just got your weight back,
yeah.
They're not that bloody heavy.
Yeah.
Hey, so fella just commented here. I threw it on the screen, Bill.
I see Joe's comment, and Joe, how you doing, Joe? Good to see you or hear from you. And Joe is, man, his attention to detail on some of his builds are absolutely phenomenal. He's built some beautiful, beautiful cars and owns some now. So
what's Joe doing hanging out on my channel? Because I'm just a backwoods hack. Good grief.
Yeah. So to answer the question on the antenna, the couple things you could get, and I honestly, I'll admit, I don't know as far as the AM antenna, if it was how it was added, but I learned something last year. If you had if your car didn't come with an antenna, you've seen later, like they have an antenna delete plate. I know that you have one, Gary, that you came up with, but the Ford antenna delete plate, which is pretty popular, like on a 93R model. The early cars, especially 79, if it didn't have an antenna, that delete plate was actually chromed. It was chromed plastic.
Oh, really? And did it have the, like, that kind of ridge around it and everything?
It did. Yep. It had the prongs on the inside that fit in the hole in the fender. So, you know, I'm interested to do a little more investigation, but I do know that's not a factory antenna, as most of us know that in the fender underneath there, or even on the new cars all the way up through 93, they had the same center hole and then 4 screws that held the base down. This is considered an aftermarket antenna, but I want to look into that a little more, especially now, you know, Joe wrote that his came with that. So,
right.
But that's not a Ford. From everything I've seen, it's not a Ford antenna. It shouldn't say Ford on it. I'm, you know, we'll look into it a little more.
Bill, here's one for you, buddy. Now, I don't, I'm pleading ignorance here. I really, truly don't know when these wiper cowls changed, but it looks to me like this is a separate piece here from here to here.
Correct.
Okay.
So you had from 79 to 82, that cowl panel is used on a Mustang. And so here's the thing. If you step back toward the front of the car again, Gary. Okay. And look down, see the contour of the hood?
Right.
It's straight.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and they use the same cowl panel and windshield trim on either side. They use that through 86, but on the Capris, because the Capri it has the same architectural features as on the hood. You have the straight lines. Whereas, you know, starting in 1983 on the Mustang, it angles toward the back, toward the cowl, and they changed the cowl, they changed it on the Mustang.
Right. Well, yeah. And you've got these kind of divots through each side, right?
Correct. Yep. On the 79 to 82 hood. Yep. Correct.
Okay.
And
and also, kind of gives it more of a cowl look too.
Yep. And then so the you know, they have 2 different hood scoops that you could get. You had the pace car hood scoop, which went all the way from the cowl all the way down to the front of the vehicle, and it covered up the emblem. And then, as most of us know, like a 79 Cobra and an 82 GT, let's say, had the forward facing scoop. And a lot of people put that scoop on a later car. So let's say, you know, 83 through 93. And I don't say it kind of bugs me a little bit because the scoop is straight and the hood has the angled upward from the front to the cowl. Right. So it doesn't quite fit, but it's a popular thing with the, you know, to put that scoop on all years, I guess.
Okay. So then just to close the loop on this, the 83 and forward and newer has like the one that we're all kind of familiar with that flows all the way through.
Like on your car. Yep. It's exact same cowl panel. Yep. Right. From 83 to 93.
Right. Hey, and what's significant about this?
The stripe?
Yeah.
Well, and some models, I guess, now obviously with Ghia, you know, you see them more on the Ghias. A lot of the base cars didn't have them. It was an option on some, you know, later on, 80, 81, I know you could. So that should be there.
Right.
Yeah. Black body stripe. Yep.
Uptown.
And the let's see, what's the code? So your code on so 75P is the code on your door tag. And what that means is you had black body side moldings with argent stripe in them. So the 2 argent stripes. So argent silver is what it has on there. So that is actually designated in your Vecchi label on your door. The light blue there. So if you go through and look at that and decode it, that's what it should tell you on that code.
Yeah, I guess we should maybe show that thing.
If you can zoom in on it, I'll go through it a little bit. I mean, we're deep diving on a 79 here. Okay.
There we go.
Maybe zoom here. Maybe you want to. Can it see? It's a little blurry. It looks like.
Yeah, it's kind of faded too.
Yeah, I don't know if you can zoom in or make it clear or not, but so.
Oh yeah, it does say 0479 right here, buddy, on the date.
Yeah, right. So April of 79. Okay. So I don't know if everyone can see it because it's blurry for me, so they might not be able to see it. But basically, 79 and 80 and 81 had a different kind of a VIN setup. So the VIN should start with a 9, and that's for 79. And then your next letter on your VIN. So here's an interesting. So your unit here, it's an R, correct? Should be 9R. Okay, that means it was built in San Jose, California. Was not.
Oh, no kidding.
Assembly. Yep. And so there's that. Now, lower. Again, it's kind of blurry. Lower right-hand corner. So right above, see the line there, well, first of all, you have your D9, that's your part number on your label. So right above that is actually your spring. Well, it'll be your transcode spring codes. Above that is, it should be B7. Is that correct?
It is. Yeah.
Okay. And what that is that's your DSO, your dealer special order code, and yours. So B is in Baker 7. That is the Pacific region for Ford of Canada.
Oh,
so this
wow.
car was ordered. It was ordered specifically. It didn't migrate there. It was ordered specifically from the dealer, and it came there. So that's your DSO code, which again, Pacific region of Canada.
Okay, well, hold on here, buddy. Pause there, because I brought this up. I may as well. This is a good time to do it. All the stuff.
Yeah, I got your owner guide, owner manual. Yeah, look at
that. Oh,
that.
and there it is, sticking out. Check this out. Miss M.K. Bauer.
There it is. It's in French too. Yeah.
Yeah, Surrey. Oh, yeah, they filled out the French side, oddly enough. I don't know why they didn't fill out the English side.
Okay.
Surrey, where the heck does it say all this now? Surrey's out in British Columbia, like Vancouver area.
Okay.
Yeah, it gives the address of the dealership and stuff. Yeah, I found that under the seat, the owner card.
So see the yellow strip there on it?
Mm-hmm.
The glue strip. So what would have come on there is an aluminum strip, and that would have given you all of your well, it says warranty information card, but it would have had the VIN, it would have had some other info on there, same as on your Vecchi label on the door.
Right.
But they fall off because the glue dries up. So maybe it's in the car somewhere. I think didn't you say you found that in the trunk?
Yeah, it was laying in the trunk.
Well, maybe that is down in the because on the early cars, as we'll get when we open the trunk up, you'll see they don't have trunk liners. So perhaps it fell down in the well down in the quarter panel somewhere, possibly, or maybe take a look in there at some point, because it would be really neat to have that little aluminum tag if you could find it. It's just part of the
part of our story.
Yep, part of the warranty stuff for the car. And
actually, there's some pretty neat stuff in here too while I'm at it. She's got the upgraded passenger mirror.
Yep.
Nice.
Interesting. Yeah. Now again, that was an option. So especially on a notchback, they didn't have a mirror at all on the passenger side. So on the exterior, you had a little aluminum plate that was painted black. And on the interior, you just had a little, just a flat, had a little texture and stuff to it, but just a little triangle that screwed on where the mirror does. So curiously, does this have adjustable mirrors? Does it have the little toggle on the mirror?
Yeah, on both sides.
Both sides do. Okay. So that's another thing on some early cars on 79s. That was not, it was just, you had the flat panel and you actually adjusted the mirror just from the outside by pushing the glass. There was no adjustment knob. But you happen to have that. I mean, Ghia also, and I'm looking, so.
Yeah. Unreal. Okay. Sorry. I'm diverting us away here.
No, you're okay. That's we're talking about the car. Okay, so going back to the Vecchi.
It's neat to know. So, like you say about that B7 code, like this kind of confirms what I'm seeing on that ownership card, right? Because Surrey's about 20 minutes from the ocean, the Pacific Ocean.
Yep. So Pacific region. Okay, so obviously, if you look down toward the bottom, you're going to have, there's an S code. That's your radio code. It'll say S down there. Do you see it? Okay. And that's your AM radio with dual rear speakers. And it actually even says in some of the it says without CB. So you could actually get a CB incorporated into the radio. Now, I haven't seen one in years and years, but yours didn't come with the CB, of course.
Breaker 19.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you also have a spot, you should see AC there. Yours will be blank because you don't have AC.
Correct.
Okay. So to your left, you're going to have a couple. So first of all, you're going to see a 66H. You see that there to the left?
Yeah.
Okay. 66H. What that is it's a specific code for a Ghia notchback. Okay.
Oh, cool.
So a regular notchback, non-Ghia, would be 66B, and Ford ended up using 66B all the way through 93. That is the code that they use for notchback, is 66B. But you have the H for the first year, which for the first few years, and they use that for Ghia only, the H designation. And then right above that, you see a 64. You should.
Yep.
Okay, that's your paint code. That's bright yellow.
Okay.
Okay. And then let's, I didn't finish the VIN, excuse me. So go back to your VIN. You see the 9R. So 9R, of course, R meaning San Jose. That's the San Jose assembly plant. And then the 04, that is your two-door Ghia.
Okay.
And then you should have a T. Is that correct?
Yep, correct.
Okay, so what the T is your 3.3 liter single carbureted V6, 200 cubic inch, and you have the wonderful distinction of having the lowest horsepower Fox ever.
Nice.
With that, so you had 85 whopping horsepower.
Now you're talking about the yellow one, not my green one, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Okay, good.
It is a Canadian car, so what did that have? 5 liters had what, about 100 horsepower? And no, I'm kidding.
It's true. So, yeah, all they did was carry beer and maple syrup.
There you go. So this unit here, obviously with the 3.3 liter inline 6 or straight 6, you had a whopping 85 horsepower, and it is also, so on your door tag, you should be able to look down. There's an 8 at the bottom. You see the number 8 there? Move over to your right a little, I think.
Yep.
Okay, number 8. So that's your axle code. So you had the inline 6, and that is a 273-to-1 non-locking rear axle.
Oh, one wheel tire, eh?
Yeah, and with a 273 with 85 horsepower. So a few years ago, LMR did a video with their automatic 79 2.3 liter 4-cylinder notch. They put it on the dyno, and that thing made like, let's see, what did I write? Oh, it made 64 horsepower and 84 foot-pounds of torque. And that's with 88 horsepower. So my guess would be here with a 273, well, whether or not that factors into your power, with a 273 3.3 liter, my guess would be that you're doing about 60 horsepower and 80 foot-pounds of torque. With the automatic, with the torque loss, with drivetrain loss from your so again, be proud. It's because the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder had 88 horsepower and yours had 85.
Oh my goodness. So
79. Yep.
Okay, so the wife doesn't have to tie her hair up when we go out in this old girl.
Probably not. She might have to get out and push to get you up to speed.
Okay, good.
Anyway, all right, going back to your tag, I guess we'll finish this. Hopefully people are still with us or not bored to death. So somewhere on your tag there, you're going to see an FA.
Yeah, and I've been waiting for this one to come up. I don't want to say it on here. I'm going to try and keep this clean, but everybody I think knows what FA stands for. Large rear end. It doesn't. That's basically it's your black low back cloth vinyl seats. Okay.
So
Right.
that's what that one means. And then you should see a W. Where's I can't again, it's blurry for me. So you see the W. What the W designates is your transmission, and that is a C4 automatic 3-speed.
Okay. Yeah.
So and let's see, what else do we have here? I think that covers it pretty much. Obviously,
Right.
the last 6 digits on the VIN, that's your consecutive unit number. And we went through everything a little, you know, a little
Yeah.
spastic here. I'm jumping all over the place, but you get the idea. So
So
that's your Vecchi label.
it's interesting here. So I've got like front and rear weights. I've got gross vehicle weight.
Correct. Yep.
I don't know why they have what 3,718 pounds.
I,
That seems way too heavy.
Yeah, it definitely is. So basically, a 79 notch is one of the lightest because of sound deadening and different things. Now you're a little bit heavier. The lightest, of course, being the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder with a manual transmission. But you're in that ballpark. But putting in the 3.3 liter V6, I'm sorry, not V6, inline 6. Why I say V6? So now, going back to that engine, the 3.3 liter is the second 6-cylinder engine that was offered. So initially, there was a V6. It was a 2.8 liter.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it was offered on for first part of the year, kind of like the deck lid thing. And I've heard a couple different things over the years. My dad even told me one of them. There were some reliability issues with the 2.8 liter, and there were also availability issues because they call it the Cologne V6 because it's from Cologne. It was manufactured in Cologne, Germany. Oh, did you lose your prop rod?
Yeah. I mean, it holds, but it's loose.
Okay. So anyway, when they were having issues or either supply issues or reliability issues with the 2.8 liter, they went to the 3.3 straight 6 mid-year in 79. And one neat thing about the Cologne, the 2.8 liter is besides the 5 liter, that's the only other Mustang that had engine designation badges on the side. So you'll see early cars, they say, of course, 5.0, and then the 2.8 liter is on the side. So you can actually get 2.8 badges. You could get them at the time. And
Right.
I should have grabbed some. I have some from back in the day. And I might have told this story before, but one of the mechanics that worked under my dad at over the years, he had an 82 Capri RS, and he put a 351 in it. And what he did was he went to the Ford dealer, he bought some 5.0 badges, he bought some 2.8 badges, and he cut them, and his said 5.8.
Oh, cool.
And that was the first one I had ever seen. So as a kid, I said, someday I'm going to have a 5.8 liter in one of my Mustangs. So I went and purchased. So I have a few sets of 2.8 badges, which are really rare because it's a half year only badge that came on the car.
Right.
And then 5 liters. So when I end up finally getting my my Windsor in my GT, my 86 GT, I'm going to do it old school. I have original badges, which I've had for many, many years, and long obsolete. You can't get those anymore. So
I like it.
Yep. And the other person that I know that currently has a 2.8 liter is our buddy Tom Clark from Built.
Right.
And Tom's 79 Ghia is a T5. So his car was sold in Germany, if you've heard of T5. So 79 was the last year of a Mustang that was exported to Germany, and they called it a T5 because they already had the name was already taken in Germany.
Oh, cool.
So he has one, and his blue Ghia notch, blue exterior and blue interior, has 2.8 badges. And of course, it's a weird looking V6 made in Cologne, Germany, and it's carryover from the Mustang 2.
Holy Dinah.
Yeah. So, but with yours there, you know, if you want to zoom in a little bit, everybody can kind of see
Yeah.
that there's a relatively rare, well, from mid 79 through 1982, you had the 3.3 liter inline, 6-cylinder, 200 cubic inches. And, as a lot of people know, they're very reliable engines. They, you know, they make okay torque. I mean, nothing crazy, but they're very reliable.
Right. Well,
So,
it, in all honesty, like it runs like a clock, you know, like it really truly does. It obviously needs a gasket kit. And I
mhm.
mean, it's probably never had the carburetor rebuilt on it. I should have, we haven't spent a ton of time inside, but like one of the crazy stories about this car was the mileage in the Carfax report shows it having 64,000 miles. And
Okay.
then the folks that I got it from had translated that in the ad over to kilometers, which is whatever. There's less
Oh,
miles in a mile is longer than a kilometer, right?
okay.
So they converted it over and they said that, yeah, it's got like 100 and some odd thousand kilometers on it. Well, turns out this thing's in kilometers and it reads 64,000 kilometers. It's got
Okay.
like 40,000 miles on it.
Wow.
I don't even know if you guys will be able to see that, but yeah, 64650.
Okay. Yep. And neat, as you're in there right now. I know we'll get back into the interior. So
Yeah.
let's go back out. Let's check some things on the engine. But wow. Okay. So low mile car.
I mean, it doesn't look like it, right? It looks
Mhm.
like it's been through a bloody war, but yeah, low miles nonetheless.
Okay. Well, that's, you know, again, neat thing. Now, unique K member, of course, you know, and if we put it up on the hoist, we'll get under there. So a couple things to point out. First year Fox, take a look at that. You're aiming in the right direction. Take a look at that strut tower. Okay.
All right.
You could almost say that it was kind of shaved because there's no holes. And as we all know, they added things and the more, you know, as the years got on, there were so many holes. It was like Swiss cheese in the shock towers on both sides. And
Right.
of course, 79 being the first year, there's, you know, and then,
Buddy,
of course,
I'm going to grab my light here.
okay. There we go. We can
go.
see a
That's
little better.
better.
So, you know, a little thing, and obviously you can see the hole for where the air, you know, the air cleaner on both. Does it have one other side or no?
Yep.
No, the other side. Oh yeah. Okay. So that's from the beginning. It had those two holes, and you know, later on they put a cap on it on the aero cars, and then on the driver's side hole that we were just looking at, they put the washer reservoir in there, washer fluid. So they kept that hole the whole time. But as you see, as time went on, like I mentioned, they added more and more and more holes and cut things and added brackets for different engines, different options, different air cleaners and things like that. So this is kind of a neat thing to look at some of the early cars, and then go over by the of course the strut mount, and of course the first iteration, that's the onion head strut mount. If people don't know, they use those through 1982. And Mustang SVOs brought them back from 84 to 86, and it's an encapsulated rubber bushing, and it's a more robust bushing. I don't know why they got rid of it, but Celine's also had those as well. Some of the early ones, but you see, they call it an onion head. They sold them in the Ford Motorsport catalog as well, and like I said, they brought them back for SVO and through 86, and then Celine.
And we got the horn on the strut tower too.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then your Duraspark box, of course, is there. Brakes and looks like somebody replaced the master cylinder.
Yeah.
Should have been. It's because it's rusty, so it should have been aluminum. They were aluminum originally from the factory. So, and the cap looks kind of nice.
Right.
So, can you look down with your light? Can you see where the sway bar mount is? By chance, are we able to get in there? Is it too?
Yeah.
Okay. So one unique feature on some of these things, if you look, you've got the mount for the sway bar. Of course, it's a tiny little sway bar, but the early cars, especially here, of course, starting in 79, the bolt just is threaded right up through there. There's no nut, there's no bracket or brace where over time Ford realized, hey, we're having some issues with these sway bars, so they were pulling out of the threads on some cars, even though it's thick. So they ended up putting nuts on the later cars all the way through 93. But the early cars, basically, they just threaded that mount, and the bolts just screw up through the sheet metal there.
Wow. When you're out there cornering hard and all 85 horsepower, hey?
Yeah, with your 14-inch optional aluminum wheel. Yeah. So, but anyway, just again, something a lot of people don't know, or they don't know, because Ford obviously made improvements starting in 79 was the first. And they say, hey, this works, this doesn't work. And they gradually improved it where, as you know, like on your green car, on your notch, your other notch, there's nuts, they actually have a nut and a bolt. And the sway bar, of course, is much more, it's a lot larger, much more robust.
And then those plastic jobbies that go on top that fly everywhere the first time you go to take the bolts out, right?
Yeah, well, basically, what those are. Those are to hold the nuts in place while they tighten them down. And so on the later cars, there's also, if you look, that's just smooth. All you have is 2 holes through there. So through, especially like an 85 in particular, it had a little metal clip, and the bolts came through, and they screwed into this metal, like a dog bone type of a thing, where then starting in 1986, they use nuts, and they use those little same kind of thing, a black, and it would snap in place. And on the line, they could just go from the bottom and zip the sway bar mount on there, and they tend to crack and fall apart. So one good thing is, I do know, is NPD is reproducing those for those, if you're changing your sway bar, but they've made them out of a different kind of plastic. And so you can get those dog bones, and the nuts are encapsulated in there. Basically, you snap it in place, and then you can mount your sway bar without having to use a wrench or a socket to hold it on. And that's a cool little thing. I know, so you can order those through NPD. Kind of cool thing. They have brackets and things like that. So for restoration, but also ease of, taking sway bar on and off or things like that.
Well, while we're in here, bud, here's kind of one of her weak points, hey?
Okay.
Yeah, I think if you leaned in with a little over half a pound, you'd probably be almost through there.
Okay, I mean, I can see a little corrosion. I can't see that close, obviously, my computer here. So, okay, well, either way, that's a common thing, especially in northern climates, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I got to think the little old lady that owned it, I'm sure, well, especially out in Vancouver, like Vancouver is not known for getting snow. They do here and there, but she probably drove it year round,
Okay.
It actually does have winter skins on it too.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, look at the siping in them.
Yeah.
They spin easy, I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
Well, one does in the back anyway.
Yeah, well, your one wheel peel. So let's go over. Let's look on the passenger side. Yeah, obviously up battery over there. So pretty standard, single lung on the air cleaner. Yeah. And basically, check your belts there. See your belts on that?
Yeah, belts have been replaced for sure.
Yeah. There you go. But you got V. You got the V belt.
Yeah, right.
Not a serpentine, yeah. So still carry over from the old school, I guess. They weren't now obviously 5-liter had the serpentine, but even on this on the straight 6 you didn't have that yet. So
right. Looks like it's maybe had an alternator put on it at one point in time. This alternator, at least the pulley looks pretty new.
Yeah, kind of from where I can see. Like I said, I'm leaning in to look here, but yeah.
AC Delco belt made in the USA.
There you go.
America.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, cool little engine. I mean, I know somebody probably, now how's the strut tower on that side?
Well, it's busy in there. Hey, so
yeah, they can't really tell. Okay.
Yeah. Hard to say. I would think if this old girl was going through a resto, you'd probably, do both sides. and be
Right.
done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, okay, here's some other stuff to point out. So, like I say, the little old lady drove by feel. I mean, look at this, right? Whoever ran the body shop that straightened this out did it with an 8-pound sledge. Maybe even a 2x4. I don't know, right? There's
Yeah,
nothing.
it is a weak point there, you know. I mean, and again, you might want to also, if you haven't pulled the battery out, check your battery. You know, they tend to corrode down in the underneath the tray and stuff. Just, you know, on the early cars, just check them out. I think they all do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, even this marker light, right? It's punched in. Like it shows signs of, I don't know, maybe even somebody had a son or a nephew or something that was getting into body work. I don't know, right? But I think she's been straightened a few times. There's all kinds of interesting creases in it, you know?
That's part of the history.
Yep.
Cool
Just
little
like the
car.
Mona Lisa.
Exactly. Yeah. So cool. Well, I don't, obviously, you know, I don't have much else. I see the hood insulation isn't there. So you've got some tabs for that, which is common. That the way, you know, the design didn't really, hood insulation didn't really last that long. I mean, it was there, but unfortunately you can't really get even the reproduction for any of the cars right now. I hope
Right.
at some point it'll get re-released, but well, cool. Let's, why don't we jump back to the trunk here real quick.
Okay.
And we'll check that out, and then we'll get into the interior, and hopefully we still have some people with us. They're not bored to death.
No, I know, folks. Actually Brent Hicks, he commented asking about. I think this is in reference to the door tag. Yeah, buddy. So it is in both pounds and kilograms. We've got metric readings on here too. So yeah, like referencing the weight of the car, 3,718 pounds, 1,686 kilograms. But see, that really makes me scratch my head because, like, I've had my green coupe on a scale, and with my ass in it, like, I'm not much over 3,000 pounds.
Yeah, it's gross vehicle weight. It's not correct. I mean, there's some things there, and then back on the label too. The other thing is like you should have your springs there. There's codes for the springs, and that should
Right.
lower right hand corner. And but what that will just give you is the spring. It's just a part number for the spring. I'd have to look up and see what the rates are, and I don't even know at this point if that's even something that I even have.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so round key, correct?
Round key, yeah.
Okay, so then you should have, well, 79s came with aluminum keys. Are they aluminum?
They're aluminum.
Okay, yep, which is a weird thing. They obviously didn't last very long. And so the other thing is, I don't know if Joe Lubner is still here. I think it's a Canadian thing for whatever reason. So if I'm not mistaken, your square key should fit your door and the ignition.
So it's funny you mentioned this because I looked like an idiot in the video I did with my wife when I picked this thing up. I said, "Here's the keys, open it up." And she goes, "Which one?" I said, "The round one," right? For obvious arrow reasons. And, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So square key fits, right. Square key fits the door. And so interestingly enough, I've seen both. And I thought it was a Canadian thing, but I have seen some other 79s that the round key didn't fit the door, but it does fit the trunk.
She's got some SSP traits.
Yeah. And then your round key should also fit your glove box too, I believe.
Okay.
At some point. Okay.
Torsion bars are good.
Yep. So basically, you know, you look in there, there's no panels on either side. So you can see up and pretty much see everything in there, your filler neck and all that. That's just how they did it for a while through I think 84 was when they started, mid 84, so 84 and a half.
Right.
And then yeah, so it looks like you have your spare tire on top of your trunk liner.
Right. So again, I haven't done anything with this car. I mean, well, actually, that was purchased so we could get it off the lot because those bozos didn't have any fuel in it. This was in it.
Okay.
What we got?
Yeah.
Is this the starter solenoid? No, it's a lockable fuel cap.
Oh, there you go.
That's what you get for living in Surrey. You got to lock
Okay.
your bloody fuel tank.
Yeah. So do me a favor while you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Zoom in on the clips for your rear molding. There you go. Take a look at those.
No doubt.
Okay, so you've had those off. You know now that the replacements are plastic.
Yeah, and they're round.
Correct. Yep. So that's what they used on the, kind of unsightly
Holy.
in a way. You don't really see them, but they use those metal clips on the 79.
That almost feels as dangerous as leaving, like an eighth of an inch on the end of a zip tie. Holy,
Yeah.
that would wreck
Yeah,
your
they're
finger.
sharp. So, but again, that's what they did. That's what held the molding on there. But another unique little feature on that car.
Right.
And they're not they're not reproduced as far as I know. I'll have to look into that, but I don't even know if I have any of those. I'll have to look and see. So
I'll drag some of this stuff out of here so we can kind of get down to one of our other weak points.
Oh boy, you got a rusty spare tire well?
Yeah. Well, and so this kind of goes into like everybody asks me what's the plans for the old girl, right? And I said, well, listen, there's part of me that looks at this car and goes like, if this thing had a soul, it was probably pretty disheartened when it went down the 3.36 banger route and not the V8 route, right? And she's lived all these years, she's survived, like, maybe you give her like the heart that she deserves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So but then again, like, and again, for anyone that's been here since the start, like it's rough, right? Like it's by no means a pristine car. Like, do you throw a bunch of money at a V8? What V8 do you use? Like there's all those questions, right? Or do you go kind of rat rod with it? But then that kind of leads me into this whole trunk situation. So which side is it? Maybe it miraculously fixed itself. Oh no, here it is. Peekaboo. That's my
Okay.
floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's got a hole. So like, again, going back to like, what do you do with the car? Well, if you're going to replace the whole trunk floor in this thing and do it properly, right? Like I don't know. I'm not the type that want to just patch that corner.
Well,
So cut the whole floor.
how bad's the spare tire?
Good question. Something's probably going to jump out and bite me here, Bill. Jeepers. Well, it's
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Look at the
So
cigarette
you know what?
butts.
It might, yeah, geez. It might just be, Gary, that it needs a little patch there. You know what I'm saying? Instead of replace, if your spare tire well was out and you're saying, hey, a lot more of the trunk floor is rotten.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
We might have had some smoke and mice in here at one point in time. That's the start of a
Looks like
nest.
it. Yeah.
I do have traps in the shop though, because like I don't want bloody mice in anything, right? But so anyway, sorry, going back to this, like if a guy goes and like cuts the trunk out of this thing and replaces it, well then, are you doing yourself a disservice by not mini tubbing this thing? Like we all talk about the rabbit hole, right?
Right.
So it's like, where do you start and where do you finish? And now just a little teaser for maybe where we'll park this conversation and pick up on it later. I kind of know where a 4-liter Barra motor is right now. And I'm going to leave it at that. We'll go back to the boring stuff and then we'll talk about the cool stuff after. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's kind of the trunk anyway, buddy. I mean, yeah, outside of, I guess that is right in line with, your passenger rear tire. And it's just got a pile of this seam sealer. Like, no wonder it probably got some moisture in there and just did its thing,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
Oh,
again, as you look, no taillight panel, no trunk panels. I mean, you can see
right.
up underneath there. You can probably, yep, that's how it came. Just basic. Later on, they did, they improved some of the stuff and even your filler neck and all that there. So really, the structure hasn't changed. If you
Right.
look at it, it's the same even in there. Yeah, the braces are the same, and there's your
torsion bars and.
Yep, and all those powerful speakers there, and
Oh, right. Yeah. Look at those thumpers.
yep, very cool. So yeah,
Yeah.
same, from 79 all the way to 93, there really didn't have a lot of change, especially back there. If you look, the structure is just about identical.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
No insulation, no nothing.
Nothing. Quiet, light. Yeah. Not quiet,
Yep.
but you know what I mean.
Well, and tail lights, right? We didn't really touch on those. These are always kind of a cool topic.
Standard. Yeah, standard 79 to 82 taillights. Didn't change much from those years, but they're different.
Right.
A lot of people don't know, perhaps, you can't just bolt a set of the later taillights on. The taillight panel is completely different, the holes in the taillights. So they did change. Yeah. So once they upgraded in 83, it's a completely different taillight panel.
Interesting.
So, yeah. You couldn't just take some LX stuff. You couldn't swap them from your car on there. It wouldn't work. It would not seal and leak, and the holes are different in different places. So that is one big difference on the early cars.
Well, and I don't know if old Miss MK Bauer was getting a sale on silicone, but yeah, it looks like somebody went hog wild with the sealability. They were maybe thinking about making her amphibious. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. If you have, if the trunk leaked and you had rust, that might have been where it was leaking, the seal on the back of the taillight.
Oh, so maybe this was like a Ford recall?
No, I think that was just somebody running up to the hardware store and saying, hey, I got a leak in my trunk. The trunk mat's wet. And then they decided, hey, how can we fix it? It looks like they did it around the license plate opening and around the taillights as well. Oh, yeah, there you go. Anything you could do. Yeah. See, look at that gap.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So, yeah, that was probably why you had a leak there. They had a leak in the taillight. That makes perfect sense now that I see that.
Right.
Yeah, just throw that in the trunk for the mouse.
The mice need some silicone to eat. Yeah.
Yep. There you go. All right.
Okay, you want to go inside, buddy?
Let's do that. Let's do that so people aren't falling asleep on us here.
Okay, let's do this. We're going inside.
Oh, you're going to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what side do you want me on?
Whatever you want to get in there.
Okay.
Fine by me.
She smells like a fox, ladies and gents. I know you can't smell it through the screen, but she's got a scent.
Nice.
Not an awful one. Like, it's definitely got a smell of like the 70s, 80s. If anybody can kind of pick up on that, like jump in an old C10 or something. You know what I mean? You get that kind of punky smell.
Right. Hey, Gary, talk for just a minute. I didn't need a quick little pit stop. I apologize.
No, you're good, buddy.
I'll be right back.
Hey, I'll bear with me, folks. I said at the start of this, I brought Bill in to make me sound like less of a dummy. I know I do a good enough job of that on my own, but I know he's going to want to talk about this, but I'll just kind of point out some of the things that he's going to have a heck of a lot more detail on. So the door handles on the 79. Now, from what I understand, this is a 79 only. You got your low door handle, and you've also got your door lock here in the armrest, which is kind of neat, right? Now he teased me about the whole blue black thing at the start too. I mean, now that I've had a little bit of time with the car, right? Like, you can look at the black dash and obviously tell that's a black dash, but you start seeing like all this faded stuff and you go like, well, that looks kind of blue, right? But anyway, apparently these things just faded out like that. The seats, I mean, I don't know if the camera's going to pick up on this, but like the back one especially, it is blue, like regatta.
Yeah, I can see why you think that the interior was blue, because they did fade.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry about that. I apologize.
Nope. You're good, buddy.
Okay, so I heard you mention the famous 79. Now, obviously, that's a Ghia, so you're going to have the matte pockets on a Ghia. You're not going to have them like on some of the other ones, Pace Car.
Right.
They don't
pretty
have
decent shape too.
Yep, they look good. The elastic, amazingly enough. So 1 year only low door handles, which cool feature. And of course, I heard you point out the locks coming horizontally there outside there. So kind of a unique thing. Now, they used the same door panel the following year in 1980, of course, but they moved the handle up. And the cool thing, the normal place that we're used to having the Fox handle. One of the cool things about the 80 door panel, or the 80 door itself, like the structure of the door, you still have both openings for both the low door handle on the following year. Of course, they just didn't have time to change it. After that, they did change the structure.
Right.
And then one other thing, you could not get power windows. They were not available in 79.
Okay.
So they all have a crank window. You can get, was an option, was power locks. So underneath, like close on that flat, see where the door, the pad is, the armrest pad. So kind of right below that, more toward the front a little bit, is where you would have a little, that's where your power lock would be.
Okay.
You did
so
have power,
this car could have had them.
Correct.
If it was ordered with them. Okay.
Correct. Yep, that was offered. And obviously you see the Ghia badges. There's only a few places, on both doors for Ghia. And then you had the cloth inserts on the door panels for a Ghia. They had some vinyl inserts like on the Cobra, and they had the Cobra badges there as well. So, they tried to change it up a little bit, but
right.
All in all, one of the coolest features and that I think is that low, that 79 low door handle.
Well, buddy, and I can't help but add this little comedic effect to this. So everyone on this stream is a Fox fan, right? Or they probably wouldn't be in here. So everybody, well, unless you've only been blessed with like power lock cars, everybody has reached over from the driver's seat at one point in time to unlock this door. Or maybe, you just got a tight door handle, and whatever gal you got with you is going, hey, I don't want to like break your handle, right? Well, how slick is this? If you're looking to maybe get a little fresh, right? You got to lean real low, maybe even between the antlers to get at this door handle for her, right? So anyway, just thought I'd throw that in there, boys. 79's kind of cool.
That's good, Gary. And I guess I never considered that one. So pretty cool. So while we're outside of the door, I'll point out another little feature. So go up, see where the chrome drip rail molding, or the bright drip rail molding is along the top there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look, there is a weather strip.
There is.
That clips behind there. Okay. So yeah, show them what that is. There you go. And on the early cars, that's what you had. And I personally I've found some of those either at a salvage yard or my friend Tom Clark, again from Cinnis, he had a new old stock one, and I have that on one of my cars. And what that does, I've actually put those on my 86. I've clipped them on the drip rail molding, it cuts down on wind noise.
No kidding, hey?
Yeah, because close the door. See that molding goes all the way down along the drip rail down the A-pillar. So close the door and see if you get under there, see the gap. Now that weather stripping fits along the top there, and you don't have that air gap.
Totally.
And I noticed a big difference. Like I said, I have it on my 86 notchback. I've installed it on that car. I had it I put it on a few other cars if you can find them. So I'm hoping at some point the aftermarket might step up, possibly NPD, to make that. And it, like I said, it folds over onto the, you have to take the drip rail molding off, then you put the rubber on, then put the drip rail molding back on. And just a neat little early Fox feature.
Well, and buddy, I mean, I think anyone that spent enough time around these things and probably had a couple of average Foxes, or maybe their friend had one, and these doors, they get bent out because somebody's tried to steal them or whatever. So like we've all done one of these, right? Grab here, foot here, what I mean? Like try to straighten her out. But yeah, that works real slick in there. These are hard. I mean, these feel like petrified rubber.
Yeah, they get like that. Obviously, it's a thin piece of rubber, and they do. But again, it's still doing something there, because it's out when you do close the door. It's going to keep the wind, because it's the door rests against it. But like I said, I've just something I noticed years and years ago, and I incorporate that into my 4i cars just for wind noise. And really, people don't even know. A lot of people don't know about that, so thought I would share that as we're going in. So, okay, there's obviously interior. First thing, yep. So since
Speaking of girls, right? Packing girls around, and maybe she's got a sundress on. You know what I mean? Hot day, no AC.
So so people who might not know what those are, and if you go up a little higher over, so this is a non-air car, so you only have one vent, and then to the opposite side, that same panel above the glove box, you've got the vent on the right, and if you had AC, or if it was an 85, you'd have a vent on the other side of that panel over here, the glove box. Correct. So early cars like that, you can tell right away that's a non-AC car because it doesn't have the vent there above the glove box, and then to the left of your heater panel there would also be a vent there as well, so that's a smooth open panel. The neat thing is, now my first Mustang, I had an 82 GL, and it had the pull vent, and I'll tell you what, and then even my 84.5 did not have AC, my first GT, and I had those vents, and they were, man, you pull them out, the more you pull them all the way out, you get full air, and of course you can adjust the air movement. But if you're humming along on the freeway and you pull that vent open, that moves some air. I'll tell you.
Well, I mean, it's like the old pickups in the quarter windows. Hey, you flip them around,
right?
And you got a class 5 Hurricane in the cab.
Yeah, exactly. So a cool little feature. I like that. And then now you're showing the carpet a little bit, so I'll jump back on that. I mean, feel the original carpet, it's faded, but feel that carpet.
Oh, it's plush.
First year, yeah. You got a thicker carpet,
shag carpet right there, folks.
Yeah. So a little bit different on the early car, on the 79. They back then, of course, coming off the 70s, it was it was good. And then early Fox, you see your glove box latch, you pinch it together, and then you've got a lock in there. Now, do you have trunk release on it?
No, I'm assuming it'd be in here. Hey.
Yeah, it would be to the left. Okay, yeah, I just didn't know on the Ghia, but yeah, I didn't think so because lack of options. But you would have it there, and some cars did. Now, okay, I'm looking. Is there any? Yep. Okay, you can close it. Go ahead. There's still a light in there, though.
Well, yeah, I got a burnt out light, Bill. This thing's a hunk of junk.
You know what? Just send it my way. I'll dispose of it for you.
Hey, now, okay, I don't know if Brent is still in the mix here, but Bill, I know you could talk to this. He reached out to me right away when I got this car. He says, "Hey, buddy, if you ever got to change a heater core, pay me $1,000 and I'll do it for you." Because apparently these are slick to do.
Yes. So he was right. Brent is right. And anybody who has had, I mean, I'll tell you, that's one of the things I'm envious about this car for you, is basically open up the glove box again. Okay. You see that you got the 2 screws. Okay. Yep. Right. You see them in there. You take the 2 screws out, you lift the glove box out, fold your hinge down, and then right back there, you're going to have a little flat panel, and the heater core just fits right in, and it's just a few few screws, and you disconnect underneath the hood and pull the thing right out, put it in there. So you should be able to get that thing done in probably maybe 15 minutes if you're decently mechanically inclined, instead of taking. Yeah. So, especially on these cars, of course, and the same with any Fox, if you have AC, you've got to take the entire dash down, drop the steering column, and you want to do it the right way. Yep. That's what you need to do. So with a non-AC car, it's a piece of cake. I mean, like I said, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, if you've had a few beers, probably. So
there you go. Yeah.
But so, yeah.
And I don't know if anybody else feels the same way as I do, but it'd probably be weird if they were putting ashtrays in new cars, but there's something about an ashtray in an old vehicle,
Yep,
look at that.
Yeah.
Just reminds you of simpler times.
Yeah. It does. And I always like those. Now I had, my first Mustang had had non-console. So as you see, if you go down a little bit, you show the automatic shifter belt, on a 4-speed, and then you have the same bezel, which, by the way, that's from a Pinto, and Mustang 2 is a little bezel around the emergency brake handle.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And the same with the the automatic bezel. They've used those. They really didn't change very much. But you got a little bit of chrome around the handle there, and then console, of course, was an option, and but with the pull down ashtray, and on mine, being a kid back in the day, I took the entire unbolted the whole ashtray assembly, and I put an equalizer under there. Had to do
right.
So, but that's cool. And then of course you got your the same. You've got your cigarette lighter, and the whole thing folds up, and you cover it up underneath the radio there without a console. And neat.
Something about it,
Yeah, AM push button radio. How cool is that? The chrome knob.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, neat. Yeah, look at that. Yeah,
wild, hey?
Yeah, really, really cool. And of course, your heater control, like we mentioned before, just rear defrost, no AC. So that's a pretty bare bones. Now, if you zip over to the left a little bit, one little feature, 179 feature. I don't know if you can see. Well, actually, you know what, Gary? Go to the right side. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
I like this being Vanna White, buddy. We should have changed our names to.
I'm
Pat
sorry,
Sage.
I don't mean to be bossy or anything.
I like it.
This is what you told me to do.
We should have been Pat Sajak and Vanna White. I'm good with it.
Did you lock it?
I did, but I was dicking around with that key.
Okay. So you can go ahead and have a seat.
Hey.
If you want. Take a load off.
Yep.
So obviously, I'll point out something funny that you told me is we were on the phone when you got this car. So we weren't videoing, and you're like, everything works except the horn, and you're trying to beep the horn. You're like, the horn doesn't work. So I said, hey buddy, do me a favor. I said, reach your left hand over, go to the stalk and the turn signal, and press that thing in. There you go. So a cool feature, early Foxes. Some people may or may not know that the horn is on the turn signal stalk, and you got to press it in. That was there till 83, and then after 83 they put it on the steering wheel. So that's one of the nicer steering wheels. I've always liked that wheel, but you don't have a horn on the thing, and it's cool. Now I guess the question, I can't tell from there, is it the vinyl wrap that looks like leather, or is it actually the leather wrap? Can you see? I
think it's vinyl.
Okay.
Yeah.
They did both. They actually had a leather version of that with real leather.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a cool wheel,
Yeah. And then they also had a silver spoke version as well instead of black.
Right. Okay.
One other 79. Now, obviously the font is on the instruments, on your tack and on your speedometer change a little bit. Now that's a cool, because it's kilometers, because being a Canadian car. And then, since we're delving into details, see the turn signal right in between the tack. Yeah. Okay. Those are just little triangles. Later on, they had them more like an arrow with a square back and an arrow. So that's a unique feature to that car as well. They just changed the bezel a little bit later on. Yeah. See? So later cars, they, like I said, it looks more like an arrow, like you would draw an arrow, and that's triangle shape. So something kind of cool. Okay, your hazards work. That's good.
Yeah.
If you look,
hey,
go ahead.
What? I stole this off you. I got to admit, I use your terminology for this light like anytime anybody asks, because I just absolutely think it's beautiful. But I'll let you run with it.
Okay. Well, from the time I was a kid, we call it a dope scope.
That's so good.
We got the dope scope. Looks like yours is in need of some repair.
Yeah.
So you can unscrew it. You probably need to get another one. Now go to the back of it. Yeah, you're missing the bezel. Now on the later cars, as you know, they didn't have that dome light. That's where your part of your dome light is.
Right.
Or you had the map light or the dope scope, and then you had that back there. Well, later on, they got rid of the light part and just had the dope scope. And then, does it have the traditional regular dome light in the middle of the? What is the dome light like? Okay. Yep. Okay. So standard. So So while you're there, go down a little bit above the door.
Okay. We got to talk about the holy poop handle too.
Yep, exactly. I guess you can see it better from there. Maybe, I don't know if you want to zoom in a little bit or, okay. So there it is there. Okay. Now 79 Ghia, first to have it. And of course it's unique to have those little chrome, looks like one fell. It's slipped down a little bit, the chrome caps. And so your grab handle, I guess I won't say what we normally call it. And that's on there. So a really unique feature, which they got rid of those. The few years, I believe they had them in 80, and then after that they were completely gone. And then interestingly enough, they brought them back for the Mustang SVO from 84 to 86.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and then of course, color key to the interior. So if you had whatever color you had that, but the chrome, those chrome caps, that's a unique early Fox piece.
Cool.
Yeah. Neat thing there. And then go to, of course, your visors, which you froze for a second there, Gary. There you go. Yeah. Well, of course, as you look on the center toward the rear mirror, there's no clips on those visors. So they're notorious for getting loose, and you accelerate and they slam you in the face, hit you in the forehead.
Right. Well, not in this old girl, but maybe
no,
in the bigger.
No. Yeah, right. Exactly. So yeah, but again, you have your just a basic stuck on mirror. Now, do you have a mirror on the driver's side or no?
Nope.
Okay. Right.
Emergency road service.
Yeah. And even then in 79, they thought that you didn't want to be distracted by looking at your ugly mug while you're driving. So,
right. Yeah.
There's that. Yeah, basically that's your, so, well, while I'm thinking about it again, weird 79 things. So if you zoom in, or can you see the panel above the door, the small clipped in panel? You can't really tell. Yeah. So it should, on the early cars, it should have a really heavy grain on it. Can you see that?
It does. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing about that is the later cars, all Fox owners who have taken those out, they're a steel piece. It's a stamp. On the 79, it's aluminum.
Oh, no kidding.
So if you ever have to pull that thing out of there, be careful, because that thing is good. They're soft as butter. It'll bend.
Right.
Really easily. So again, something Ford improved over time. And they put
you can really feel the grain in that.
Yeah. And it's actually like a wrap. It's not a paint. It's like a vinyl wrap or however they did it. That's why it's like that. But again, it's an aluminum piece, and they ended up improving it because people would pull them off and they would just bend because they were, so thin and chintzy.
Right.
But just, something I've learned over years, taking apart a lot of these cars and working with them. But yeah. And that's basically, as far as interior goes, there really isn't much else. It's standard.
We got our other crotch cooler.
Yeah. Early Foxes had that weird chrome, or not weird, but the headlight switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which same switch basically, but the knob itself is a little different with the inlaid headlight symbol.
Right.
Yeah.
Did any of these, I guess none of them ever had the floor high beam, low beam, hey?
No.
Right.
They did not. And then of course, you didn't get a dead pedal until the Mustang SVO in 84. So nothing had it. And then afterward, they carried it over from 87 to 93. So there's, no dead pedal, of course.
Right.
And then, little things, like I said, if you look at the wood grain and the vents, like they chromed around the vents, you see around the perimeter, and they chromed around your wood grain bezel. And, just little things like that they did. Of course, chrome knobs on your heater and obviously radio and things. So little things which disappeared over time. Afterward, They started cheapening them up a little bit, where they got black radio knobs, and
right.
Didn't do. But it depended if it was a Cobra or GT as well. So,
and it's just 79 that where they had the Ghia amalgamation, right?
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Well, should we lift her up, buddy, while we're doing this?
Yeah. Why don't you bring her up and we'll take a peek?
Okay.
A couple little features under there, and then we can close it out. And thanks for everyone who's
Still
stuck
hanging.
with us. I know this is not the most exciting subject on these details, but just cool little things on the first year Fox. So go ahead and lift her
Yeah,
on
you
up.
know what, buddy? Here, I'll maybe start the hoist. Let me know if it's too loud here.
Not at all.
Not
Go ahead.
bad?
Oh, no, not at all. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, now I know you're going to want me to grab my magnet, right?
Yeah, grab your magnet and also your light.
Okay, copy. Well, I'm running out of hands here, bud.
Well, I'm sorry. You're going to have to. Yeah, sorry. You're nursing that beer anyway. I'm surprised you don't have it already finished. What's going on? I'm disappointed in you, man.
When you're in the middle of a heavy heater story like this,
Heavy heater. Oh, Lord.
Okay.
Okay. So let's take a look at that axle, rear axle, while you're there. Okay. So I wanted to make sure some of the early 79s, they got, believe it or not, it wasn't a 7.5, it was a 6.75.
Really, hey?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
I should mention too, buddy, just so everybody knows, like this is the very first time I've been under this car. I've not seen any of this. So I've taken a knee beside it. That's about the extent of it. Like it's obviously had brakes done. All this is new to me. So anyway, you guys are seeing it as early as I am.
Yeah. So I was curious about what axle, but it is a 273 and there's your standard. Now, one thing is go to the shocks. If you look on the early cars, see how they're mounted.
Right.
Yep. They got a through bolt mounted differently than the later. They don't have the same kind of bracket. And look at the size of that monster sway bar. Look at that thing. Don't hit your head on it. You might bend it.
The toothpick, eh?
Yeah. And exactly. That thing's tiny. So do me a favor, Gary, back up a little bit and show us the gas tank.
Okay.
Okay. So what do you notice about that gas tank?
Well, it looks a hell of a lot smaller.
Yes. So it doesn't go all the way to the left. See how much room you have where your exhaust is and everything?
Yeah.
And so that little sucker there, so your notch behind you, now is a 92, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so your 92 behind you, and my cars and my 86s and most Foxes, they have a 15.4 gallon. That little sucker right there is a 11.5.
Is that right? Hey, you lose about 4 gallons on this one.
Yeah. Yep. And then you see your shield, which actually it's just tucked under your straps. It looks like it's bowing just a little plastic shield. There is no shield that covers the whole tank. You just have that tiny little protector right in the middle there.
Unreal.
Yep. Just skinny little 11.5 gallon tank, and that's what came on them.
Well, look at this. Hey, it's even got your the pumps mounted in a different location and everything.
Right. Sender. So early. Now, obviously, for safety reasons, you think you'd put it on top like they did later, of course, and you see logically why they did that.
Oh God. I mean, the only thing that's slowing anything down from hitting that if you're out in the weeds with it, is that toothpick sway bar.
Yeah. Well, that'll definitely protect, I don't know what, but bend up a coat hanger and put it on there. Yeah. Careful. You're going to bend it. So anyway, tiny little sway bar. Look at your springs and, but basically you can see the evolution of it. Same control arms and looking underneath there. So so you got your magnet out while you're in the back as well.
Yeah.
And so I guess a lot of people say, or they might be published in a few different places, that only the 2.3 liter turbo cars, because of weight savings and things, they were supposed to get aluminum front and rear bumpers.
Okay.
But basically there was no rhyme or reason on a bumper, and that looks steel to me.
She's definitely orange, buddy.
Yeah. Okay. So, but it, you get an aluminum bumper support, front and rear. So when we get to the front, we'll check and see, and then
Right.
zoom in a little on those bumper supports, Gary, the ones that hold to the, okay. Hard to tell. Well, Ford implemented, does it look like the shock absorbing bumper?
No.
Okay.
I would say that's just, straight steel.
Yeah. They didn't have yet the 5 mile an hour shock absorbing bumper, which was a later thing. So I'm sure there was some damage. Yeah, it doesn't look like the later ones. And I honestly, I don't know when that was implemented. I don't recall. I'll have to look into that a little bit. Maybe somebody knows, or
Right.
that's my dad. He remembers stuff like that as well. So
Yeah.
yep. So no aluminum bumper on the back, which is fine.
Yeah. Okay. And then we thought, so, guys, Bill and I have, obviously we yak on the phone. We're close buddies. We've had a few conversations about this car. One of the other things we wanted to check and see if it had here were rear aluminum drums, which
Correct.
I'm leaning towards no.
Well, the backing plate. So I don't know if
They're
you can
steel.
see the other side. Okay, they're steel. Okay. So, again, Gary and I have talked about this. Maybe some of you don't know that the early cars, they had aluminum brake drums. And so, again, 2.3 turbo, we're supposed to get them. So I've seen them on turbo pace cars, but then again, I've seen them on V8 pace cars. I've seen them on V8 Cobras, and even, regular 2.8 liter cars. So no rhyme or reason. They were supposed to put them on the turbo cars, but
Okay.
again, and so no. And so what I did do was, and I when Gary and I were kind of setting this up to make sure this live was going to work, I have a little show and tell. So here is, and you probably can't see it very well, but that's an aluminum brake drum. And let me get it through here. Yeah, you can't, you can kind of see the metal a little bit lighter on it. And then, so it's got the outer ring is aluminum. The center hub here is steel. And then if you flip it over, you can see the aluminum shining in there, and then the hub, but then there's a steel liner, which my lighting is not the best.
Yep, I got her.
Liner in there. So I have some photos of these on my my Instagram page somewhere, which is 86 notch, if anyone cares to look at some better, but it's super light. It doesn't weigh anything. So because the majority of it is, and you can see it's, it's got the Ford part numbers and stuff around the perimeter and some things, but don't know about strength because the hub is steel, and I don't know the process they did it, but I'm thinking to myself, it's like, okay, the liner is separate.
Yeah.
From the hub, you can see the aluminum. So, but this is what they did. They had aluminum drums, really light, saving reciprocating mass and things like that. So I brought one up from my part stash. You can kind of see there.
Unreal.
Yeah,
they it must be some sort of interference fit. Hey, like they probably pounded them together under heavy weight.
Yeah. That's a good guess. Yeah. So, but anyway, that's one of the things. So you don't have those. And again, they maybe came on the car, but over time they might have changed them and just replaced them. And who knows? But the mileage is low enough. So my guess is probably not. What you can do, Gary, at some point, if you ever pull the rear wheels off, check the number on the drums. If it's a D9 drum, it's an original drum, and it didn't come with aluminum ones. So
okay. Geez, I should be careful hanging this light from that sway bar. Hey.
Yeah, I think it's already sagging. You be careful. Good Lord. Okay.
All right.
And you got what is that exhaust? Is it like maybe 3/4 of an inch?
Yeah, and she's a Quiet Flow 3. or cubed muffler.
Okay, replaced, of course. Yeah, you see that.
Yeah, that's tiny. I mean, I don't even think I'd give that 2 inches. Definitely not.
Right.
It's
And then
small.
you have your gigantic, the drive shaft looks huge too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, here, I don't know. I try to give everybody some perspective. Like, well, actually, here, let's do this. Hang on. I'll get an empty. It's about the same size around as a beer can.
You didn't need much.
Nope.
Yeah.
Hey, you ever seen my beer can machine?
No, I guess I haven't. What is this? God, you kidding me. That's awesome. Okay. All right.
Well, we got some new emergency brake cables in her.
Okay, there you go.
They're shiny.
They're problematic. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on up, I guess we got your big old fat catalytic converter there. That looks like the original one. Yeah.
Ooh, she got hung up on maybe a curb at some
Mhm.
point in time. Wowzers.
Yeah. Okay. Single hump
Look
cross
at the
member.
yeah, look at that transmission mount. That's all kinds of beef too.
Yeah.
Holy stiflers. Hey?
Yeah. Ooh, wow.
Oh, it's just everything about this thing, right? And just tin, like very
Yeah.
lightweight stuff.
Oh, they were lighter, a lot lighter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So you got
what
a
do we
little
got
corrosion
here?
there. Is it an
Oh,
animal,
yeah.
a bird?
Looks like a garbage bag, buddy.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Maybe some more water sealing going on with plastic garbage bags. I don't know.
Maybe.
She
Yeah.
she marks her territory.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, yeah. She's in
Okay.
real need of a seal kit. This old 3.3.
Yeah. Check out the K member. I'm interested to see. I haven't seen a 3.3 K member. Yep. See, there you go. See the braces?
Okay, hold on here. The old knees aren't as good as they used to be. There we go.
Okay. So you got braces either way. So basically the 79 used those braces. The K member is kind of weird on a 79. They did
Oh,
change
this
it.
brace here, like this
Yeah.
piping.
Yep, on each side. See it? They just
Right.
flatten two ends and put it in there to strengthen the K member.
Huh. Yeah, it's kind of like the chintzy convertible cross
Right.
bracing.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Huh. Unreal.
So just a different kind of a K member on a 79 there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
geez. These inline sixes, hey, like they're such a scrawny overall kind of size to them. They just look so funny when you're looking up at them.
yeah. That big exhaust over there, I'm sure look at your long tube header. And
Oh yeah. All beef. I'm kind of curious what went on here. It looks like, I don't know, maybe somebody put some seam sealer on I don't know. There might be some more cancer in this car. I'm not real sure.
yeah,
But
possibly. I mean, easy to say. Okay. Then going back up toward the front, let's see here. Obviously, typical Fox stuff. I mean, early things are changed a little bit. We already determined. So let's check up. It looks like the bumper support is steel on on the front too.
right.
Yeah.
Kind of got a primer orange. Oh, maybe it just got primed on one side. This side's orange.
Where it got hit. Yeah.
Yep.
Core support doesn't look horrible. It looks like.
Hold on here, Bill. Hold on.
Well,
what color does that look like to you? Let me get my magnet.
Okay, that's not the bumper support. That's your that is your turn signal.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
See the bumper below it. Yeah, that's steel right
behind
okay,
that.
Yeah, that's aluminum there. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, unfortunately, I mean, again, it's cool to have them, cool to find them, but this old girl just didn't
get them.
Didn't get them. Yeah.
Well, that's all contributing to that 3,718 pounds that she's got on her door sticker.
They're heavy, believe it or not. So the one of the things I didn't mention, obviously bumper cover wise, so some of the 79 cars had problems with their bumper covers.
Oh.
And so it was the formulation of the urethane, and in like heavy moisture or heat or not 100% sure, but I mean, those are contributing factors. They would warp And so the egg crate up there, they would get, in the grill itself, it got all deformed. I'll have to send you a picture at some point. I've got a few that look like they're kind of melting off the car. And then they would miraculously, the paint would split and come off. So there was a recall on them. And then on some, certain other conditions, they would go right back to normal, whether again, memory's fuzzy.
Heat cycle them and
either water or, that kind of thing. So it's, but neat. But again, looking at your chrome buckets, and then of course the Ford emblem in the grill, that's typical 79, all the way through. And then, that's
kind of the tips to tail, eh?
Yeah. Well, as far as I can consider right now, I'm nothing else is really coming to mind.
There's another look at the front sway bar that we were kind of yipping about earlier.
Yeah. Oh, how it's mounted up under. Yeah. Mounted up under. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see where the design comes in. Everything didn't change much. I mean, if technically, if you're looking at that suspension, you'd be hard pressed to tell, besides looking at what engine it is, you'd be hard pressed to say, oh, is that an 87? Is that an 85? Is that just because K member is different, of course, like we said, but a lot of it's the same. You see where it all came into play.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's just, for me, it's so neat to spend some time around this car, being that it was like the very first year of the cars that led to all the ones that whatever year it is that you're into, you know what I mean? But this is where it all started.
Yep.
Like
cool cars, cool history. And I appreciate you at least talk. Oh, there's your air inlet there.
Yeah.
Your Ram air.
Side. Yeah, totally. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. They had them on the carburetor. So 85s had dual, had two of those
on each side. Right.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah. So your 4-barrel cars had them, and obviously 85 being the last year carburation. But yeah, that's
more impressive than even the Aero cars got in those silencers. Hell, those are stuffed way up there in the wheel well.
Yeah. Well, this thing was anemic. You got to figure 85 horsepower. They needed as much air as it could get. They had to force something up into that old gullet, So.
Yeah, no kidding. Now that I can kind of get a bottom side look on this frame rail, buddy, it doesn't look as bad as the other one.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a good sign.
That's good.
The other one, I don't know, maybe it was, brake fluid leaking at one point in time. It's kind of right in that proportioning valve area,
Yeah. Well, obviously what a lot of times what happens is, because these cars, if you take the wheel off, you can see the inside of the pocket, the strut tower pocket, and debris and salt even, or whatever you have, tends to rest up in there. And that, if you have whatever stays up there, it keeps it moist, and then it rusts through on that frame rail on that side. So, but it didn't look too bad.
Yeah.
Repairable. And obviously if you keep the car and you decide to transplant something more powerful, or different, you can get in there and fix it. Or if you pass the car on to someone else, it's most likely they're going to take the straight six out of there and put something else in. And at that time they can, do a little repair. Cause it's unfortunate, but a common repair on these cars. So,
right here, let's get into BS mode here. There we go.
Yeah. So did we lose all our viewers, or did everybody get so bored and they decided to?
Well, it's funny, man. I had, when I first mentioned that we were going to do this, I had quite a few folks reach out going like, finally, some 4i content. So I better get another pop while we're chatting. Yeah, like everyone was pretty pumped up about it, because I think a lot of these old girls, well, when you think about, the folks that are kind of out there putting out content on these Fox chassis platforms, really, there's not a lot of people that focus on the 4i stuff, right?
Yep, agreed.
And now, for me, I guess it kind of speaks to my vintage. Like, the Aero cars was just kind of where I was old enough to start paying attention to them, right?
Yep, agreed. Yep, understandable.
So, yeah, and now that's not to say that I've got any sort of racial tendencies against these ones, I love them, you know?
Yeah.
And the fact that this one kind of fell into my lap, you know, just kind of works out. Like, and I'm on record for sure saying that, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of like the big flat dash of the 4i, like the interiors. I will say I've warmed up to them. Especially when you start looking at some of the guys out there like Robert Miller,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
you know, like doing some really neat stuff, you know?
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I got nothing against them. And I mean, the fact that you and I could connect and do this on this one, I mean, I got to think it's going to, at least with the 4i crowd, it's going to land. And then all the history buffs out there, which I think if you're a Fox body guy or gal, you're kind of a history buff already, right? You get a kick out of like the weird and the out there and like this type of stuff, you know?
Agreed. Yeah.
So,
I mean, granted, I love them all. I'm a 4i guy though, at heart, I guess. And, for whatever, just because I've owned more of those and worked on more of them and just prefer that, and leaning toward 86, of course, which is my favorite year. I've mentioned that before. Where, you know, last of the 4i's, first year fuel injection, 8.8 dual exhaust. So in my opinion, best of both worlds. But again, you know, they improved them, and I love them all, but I have a stronger connection with these, you know, as I've said many times, and forgive me for repeating this again, but my dad was bringing these home when they first came out, and, you know, uncles and things like that. I had an uncle that my first 79 pace car that he brought home, and I remember seeing that thing pull up into the driveway, and it was just like, wow, you know, kind of cool.
I think that's it, right? Like we all talk about that moment where you got bit by the fox bug. And like you're saying, for you, it was first seeing one of these and you're like, this is it, right? Like I'm ruined for life. For me, it was an 87 GT, white on gray, red stripe. Friend of mine had it. You know what I mean? Like I can literally transplant my mind right back to that moment right now.
Yeah, understandable. I mean, I remember my first Aero car. You know, my dad brought home an Aero GT. I remember seeing it was red, and you know, and I'll never forget that. He pulled it up, and of course everything else. And then yeah, just through the years of ownership. And again, it's funny to think that, you know, we live, you know, how many miles away now? How far are you? I mean,
well, we're well over 3,000, buddy.
Yeah. And, you know, what brought us together and what brings a lot of us together are these ugly, boxy little cars. And you know, that's a cool thing about them. The thing is, you know, you could technically take that fender off of that 79. I know you wouldn't, but you could take that yellow fender and put it on your green car.
Yeah.
And, you know, and just so many different things that interchangeable. And as I say, infinitely modifiable, where you can just combine so many things. And that's what makes them so amazing, that they lasted so long. And even the chassis, you know, going to 04, because everyone's doing SN95 and the suspension, and, you know, just brings us all together. And it's amazing when you think about it. You know, some of my closest friends I have are because of these cars. And then, of course, you know, loved them so much, decided to, you know, get together with some buddies and put on a car show.
Right.
So,
right.
Yep.
So yeah,
and,
let's do a little chat about that too. And then maybe we'll get you guys involved that are still watching or whatever. I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on what they think the future of this car should look like. But let's go Motor City Fox Fest first.
Okay. Well, we're the team and myself, we're busy trying to get all the details together. Of course, it is the 12th of July, Saturday. So that's the main event at Ford World Headquarters again this year. But we're doing things. We're starting on Wednesday. And so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, of course. And what we have planned is some pretty cool stuff. I'm not at a point where I can say, hey, this is exactly what we're doing. We're going to be releasing some, you know, and opening up registration coming up here soon. But I will tell you that some of the things we have planned are, you haven't seen it at a Fox show in particular yet. And I'm very excited about some of the stuff that we're planning, and just getting everybody together, getting more people involved. And we're going to have a good time in Dearborn, the heart of it all, and have some events planned for everybody that attends. Like I said, hopefully, I'm already saying wow, and I'm hoping that everybody that comes are just like, wow, okay, this is Ford country. You can't do some of these things anywhere else except in Dearborn and southeastern Michigan. We are bringing back Motor City Fox Fest Goes to Hell. Our Hell Cruise is coming back. That was a big success. And those of you who might not know about that, what it is, of course, is we meet at one location, and we all go to hell together. So Hell, Michigan. And the route that is taken is one that was done by Car and Driver and the magazines, and even Ford, General Motors, and I'll say Chrysler, but whatever it is.
Don't
now.
swear on this channel.
Yeah. But they've used that road, and so basically it's an amazing scenic cruise out to Hell, Michigan, which is a tiny little place, but just cool to go. And so we're bringing that back this year for sure. One other thing that we'll have an announcement tomorrow on our Facebook and social media is National Parts Depot. So NPD is our title sponsor. They're coming back again. This is their third year, and we are very thankful for them and what they've done for us and continue to do. So they provided some ultra rare cars. The first year was the first serialized Fox 79, like your notch, and it was 00001.
Right.
So that's in the NPD collection. Last year was the last, we'll say, I don't like the term, and I've said it before, but Fox body. So the 93 convertible, a red one, that's the last Fox to come off the Dearborn assembly plant line. And so that was at last year's show. And we've got some pretty cool things and some rare Foxes, and that's kind of my department. I love the rare Foxes, and I can say, hey, there's some great shows out there, other shows, other Fox shows, but our rare Foxes, that's something we're very, very proud of because of where we're at, and of course the participation from Ford Motor Company and connections there. We're going to have some Foxes that you're not going to see anywhere else in the world. They're not going to travel anywhere. They're in our area, and they're going to be at our show. So That's what excites me, as you probably saw if you stayed through this whole video, some of the features and details. But this is, that's what we have. So we're working every day to make sure that Motor City Fox Fest 2025 is bigger and better and more of a destination. So we hope you'll consider coming and sharing your Fox with us and spending time and seeing some incredible Ford content and, being a part of the Motor City. And as I always say, in the shadow of the glass house. So when you're looking up, as you know, Gary, there's Ford World headquarters right there, and you can't beat the view and you can't beat the location. Yeah. And, to know that every single one of us, our team, we're just super passionate about the cars. We love them. We all own them. We own multiple. And, so I hope you'll consider coming again. I don't think you're going to be able to come. I think you're going to be out of the country. I think we talked about that, which is kind of sad for me. I'll cry later I'll cry myself to sleep later on.
Well,
no,
I got so many things to add, buddy. Like, guys, for whatever this is worth, like, this is not like, it's a plug for the show, but it's like the God's honest truth. I mean, there is something special about Detroit, and not only just Detroit, like, it's always awkward to gush in front of the people, but like the folks that run this show are like second to none. I say this all the time, like, the older I get, the more you can kind of like really truly like see through the fog and start to like pick up on people's auras, if you will. Right. And like, I'm here to tell you guys, like, it's not just like they're putting on a show because this is the flavor of the week. Like, these guys will like forego meals and sleep to like be around these cars. We just put in over 2 hours on that yellow bucket. Like, because this is what Bill would rather do with his time than sleep. So, like, this is not a forced thing. These guys live and breathe this stuff. And yeah, like for anybody out there that hasn't done this show and or even been to Detroit, like the minute you set foot in like the county line, you go like, oh, like there's something here. You can feel it. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. Like this is the birthplace of it all, right? Like that car was invented there. That green piece of shit was invented there. Like
Well, your
all of
green,
these.
yeah, your greenie was built there. The blue, like I said, unfortunately, I mean, still cool, but the yellow one wasn't built in Dearborn. So
Yeah, I guess. But it was thought up there, right? It was
yeah, yeah,
mentally conceived. I mean, like you're literally walking on the same dirt that all the folks that built these cars walked on. Like it, I don't know. For me, I'm more impressed going to Detroit than I am going to Rome, you know? Like it's that level for
well,
me.
we appreciate the kind words, and like I said, until you've experienced it, and again, if you're returning, we're super happy to have you. And the main thing is like Gary said, we're, I personally, I live, sleep, eat and breathe these cars. I love them, and it's weird, but yet at the same time, the rest of the team understands that this is what we're doing. We're doing it for the community and for the cars. I mean, that's what we want to do. We want to provide the best. We want you to come away saying, hey, wow, that was great. Did you see this? Did you see that? And again, it's we hope you'll join us. There's a lot of wonderful shows out there, and a lot of people are pulled in different directions, but don't be afraid of Detroit. Don't be afraid of the Motor City. Yeah. So that's one of the things when I, when this idea first kind of, came to fruition. And I mentioned Tom Clark a few times from Cinusbuilt. So he not only designed our logo, but he's on our team now. And so his creativity is just so much appreciated. But one of the first things he said was, hey, you're going to have a lot of these people that there's a stigma. It's Detroit. It's Detroit. It's Detroit. And, hope you know that, listen, I've lived here all my life. Yeah. Just like any major city, there's the hood, there's bad parts, but we're safe, and where we're at is a great area. And like I said, in the heart of Ford country, there's so much to see. The Henry Ford Museum, which I can't stop talking about, and a lot of people have seen. I mean, that's just fantastic history. It's a museum of American innovation, and a must see, obviously. And then just getting together with your friends that enjoy these cars. I know a lot of people. So one thing I will say this year, going back to the show, and we'll won't stay in this too long, but we want to be like, okay, we're in a parking lot. And a lot of people don't like to just sit there. You can walk around and look at your car, other cars, and we have a ton of amazing vendors, and we will again this year. But we're trying to offer different things going on during the show itself. So we're working on that to have all encompassing, so people aren't just sitting there and saying, hey, I'm bored, I want to be here for an hour and I don't want to sit there for all day. So we're trying to expand to make it family friendly, of course, but make you want to stay and just hang out with people and have some cool things that are going on during the show itself, as well as pre-show, or meet and greet, Motor City Fox Fest Goes to Hell, and some unnamed events that I'm hoping people are just they're off the chart. So we're working hard for you. So thanks for letting me plug it here.
Oh, totally, man. I mean, yeah, like there's folks in the chat, like still watching, that like bring the kids, bring the wife, you know what I mean? Like it's an event, and like Bill said, like right in the shadow of where all the decisions are still being made to this day. Like that is impressive just to be in that parking lot, I can't say enough good things about it.
Well, thank you for the kind words. And please know that the roads in the parking lot are not the best. I'm sorry to say, it's a big lot, and we had a lot of people say, hey, how come the potholes? So it's it is what it is. But at least being there and being around everything, and we hope that what we're planning is going to draw you in and just get people together to to share our passion and to see all the cool see the cool cars, all the Fox Chassis cars, you know, from Fairmonts all the way to, you know, Mark 7s and Lincolns. And then, of course, you know, 94 to 04, which is a Fox Chassis. So that's what we're celebrating. So appreciate the kind words, and you know, appreciate your consideration, everybody, to you know, to come and check out what we're doing. And to,
and you know what, buddy, like on that note of like roads and whatever, like, yeah, sure, like there's some stuff you got to avoid, but like anyone that's still watching this, I dare you to tell me that your roads are perfect, unless you live in Phoenix. You know what I mean? Like
Florida. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, everyone complains about this. You know what I mean? No matter where you go.
Yeah.
But like, again, kind of like this old girl, like that's one of the cool parts about it. You know, like you're where these cars were built, where they were thought of, where they were made. Like, I don't know. It's an event, ladies and gents. I can't say enough good things about it. And I mean, so Bill teasing me about not being able to be there. There is a small chance if I can make it happen, I will. But my daughter has been asked to play on this team that's actually going over to Europe. So it's like air quote a good excuse, but I mean I'm heartbroken at the same time because I mean I don't get to hug this big bugger this year, right? Oh no, I will.
Yeah,
in pits.
I'll see you next month. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's different. Like when drinking beer at Glenn's house and like doing I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
it's a good
I
time.
understand you got to do family stuff, but you know, Gary and you know, maybe you guys know, I mean, Gary and Chris came you know, the last 2 years, and the first year actually the shitbox won best in show, and people still kind of, you know, comment on that a little bit, but you know what, it was well deserved. And if you do get a chance, go back and look at some of those videos that they did getting the thing ready and the road trip, and that's what it's all about. And I think that's why people voted for that car to win. And we were, you know, I'm still super excited that it's you know, that it happened, and obviously you know, having friendships that are going to last a lifetime here now. You know, it's that's what it's all about, and that's why we're doing this. It's, you know, it's not a money thing. You know, all of us on the Motor City Fox Fest team, you know, we all have jobs, we all work hard. We're doing this for pure love of the cars, and as Gary said, you know, I'm not using this as an example, or maybe I should. You know, we just spent over 2 hours here talking about, you know, a car and it's, you know, little things that like turn signal arrows and, you know, stuff like who the heck is gonna, you know. So if you really think about it, again, thanks for sticking with us, and you know, we hope probably if you're still here, then you're as much a Fox geek as we are. So
amen to that.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's true. I actually had I saw a comment when we were under the car, or no, it was when we were looking at the VIN tag there, and somebody said, "Oh, you know, these are just economy cars. Who cares?" It's like, well, yeah, good point, but we do. Like, we're the weird ones.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah. Again, think about it. I mean, kind of fanatical here that you know, this kind of a video is here, and we're going over little details and sticking magnets under the car, and, you know, holding up beer cans to the drive shafts. And so anyway, it's fantastic. And I thank you for the opportunity. You know, I know I'm definitely a talker. So, but it's just, I hope the passion comes through, because like I said, I love these cars, and every little detail and nuance is just so cool to me.
People are thanking you here, buddy. It's, I kind of got sleeping on the comments here, but it's just nonstop.
Well, thanks everybody. I appreciate it. Thanks for sticking with us this long. And like I said, you know, it's not the most exciting topic, but to be honest, Gary, I don't, you know, I've seen videos like this. I don't know if I can't recall another video where, you know, we got as in depth, and this is a lot of fun. It was awesome. So thank you.
Well, okay. So just to round it out, buddy, and like no answer is a bad answer here. What would you do if you were in my situation owning this car? And I encourage everyone that's still hanging out with us, like, please share your thoughts. I'd love to hear.
Okay. I'll be honest, say personally at this stage. So I have modified cars. Okay. So I think that's fantastic. The older I get, the more I'm becoming more of a purist in a lot of ways. Okay. So if I didn't own one, let's say I didn't, okay. So here's a scenario. I didn't own one and, you know, if you didn't, and you had that car, there's nothing wrong with modifying.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a comment, upgrade the sway bars. Amen. Yep. Especially that rear one. That thing's ridiculous. But, you know, obviously it's about improving the cars and things like that. Now, I think at this point, if, you know, Gary was to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to give you this car, or this is going to be your car, or whatever, how it worked out. There's a lot to be said about originality. Now, granted, at you know, 85 horsepower, originally 85 horsepower. And if everyone's been here from the beginning, my guess was 80 horsepower probably at, no, actually, I'm sorry, 60 horsepower. What am I saying? I'm looking at my notes. So 60 horsepower and 80 foot-pounds of torque is probably what that thing's making. You know, give it a tune up. That's probably what it's doing. It's slow. It is. And are people going to appreciate it if you drive it? It's all about what you like. Okay. So for me, I think at this moment in time, I would kind of restore it because I have other cars that are modified. Okay. But, you know, you don't see them. And so here's the funny thing is you know, maybe at Ponies in the Smokies, you know, they have one of every year. There's people in our community and in the hobby that have original cars, but it's been quite a few years since I've seen a straight 6.
Right.
You know, and so same thing, like a 2.8 liter. It's like, whoo, I haven't seen one of those in a while either. So do you really want to have that unicorn? Do you really want to? And some people are like that. Some people like to have an original one, but that's my answer to your question in a roundabout way. I think at this point in time, I'd restore it and keep it original because of what it is. But you know, that on today, you know, but again, I have a modified 4-eyed notchback. So, you know, I'm like, hey, let's have something original. So
yeah, no, buddy, I like what you're saying. I know I struggle with it too, because not that there's anything wrong with, you know, yet another V8 swapped Fox. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how we all know these cars. But I find myself leaning in the direction that you're saying, right? I mean, and then I brought this up earlier, you know, like, do you kind of do like a, you know, new aged type, you know, like modified, like with that whole Barra thing, right?
Yeah.
So you're maintaining the inline 6. There are a couple Foxes out there with them. I've seen some videos on YouTube, right? You can find them.
Yeah, there was one that I know one for sure at Motor City Fox Fest the last couple of years.
Right.
So yeah, and unfortunately, running around as a show planner, I didn't get to spend as much time with certain cars and check everything out. This year, we're trying to, you know, do that a little bit. So to be able to, you know, I want to get out. And last year, you know, I was in a golf cart, and the year before. So, but there was that. And again, Gary, if that's what you decided, I mean, I would applaud that as well. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I mean, you're talking you know, Glenn was saying earlier to let you know also that his, you know, his hair dryer probably has more power than that to blow his mane. Yeah. And so, but it's, and again, the beauty of what they are, I mean, dang, I'd be happy to see it put, you know, that motor in it, or put a Coyote in it, of course, which is, you know, very common. Or, you know, how about a Godzilla?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that'd be fantastic as well. Or there's guys out there that even have been putting, or even now are putting 2.3 liter EcoBoost in.
Yeah.
You know, they make some decent power, you know, with a light car. Cause what's Mike Dula, House of Dula.
Yep.
That's his project right now, and he's got a 79 notchback that he has his EcoBoost in, and he's been working on that for the last, you know, few years at least. But it's starting to come together, so I've been kind of following that. So an awesome build, and it had a 2.3 liter in it, so that's kind of what he did. So if you put a V6, or, you know, even again the popular V8 to make the car enjoyable, that's fantastic as well. I mean, I love, you know, it's a great car.
I know, man. It's funny, like we didn't do any, running or any of that stuff, but just you guys will have to take my word for it. Like I moved things around just before we got on here and fired the old girl up. I mean, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 turns of the starter, right, or turns of the flywheel, and boom, off it goes, and it'll sit there and high idle until you snap the throttle, right? Like for me, even though it's an anemic 60 horsepower, that's cool, right? The fact that it still does all the things that it was designed to do. But and I guess there's a level of enjoyment that you can get out of doing that. I mean, I did that video of taking my daughter out driving in it, which talk about a home run car to do that in. You know what I mean? Like you'd be you'd watch a telephone pole come at you for half a mile, right? And you'd have time to fix yourself before you crashed. But I have always had a little bit of a draw towards that whole Barra motor. Man, I wish there was like more support here in North America. Anyone that I've heard of that's done it, that's all they talk about is just anyone you gotta talk to is in Australia, right? But just an absolute monster of like it's the 2JZ that the Asians wish they built. Like it's just an absolute workhorse, you know. So and again, yeah, we were talking about it when we were underneath it, right? Seeing that inline six in there, like other than the displacement, you're still maintaining heritage, and it's got a Ford badge on it, right? It's not a bloody LS.
Right. Well, exactly. I mean, I'm not a fan of that personally. I'm, Ford
Either.
and I'm not making any excuses, but going back to Motor City Fox Fest, it's Ford powered. So, we have people even in, some of the local clubs and groups that are like, well, I can't come because I have I'm LS swapped. I'm like, no, you can't. Sorry. Yeah. And that's
the rules.
Well, we're on Ford property. So
Yeah.
that's kind of one of the things that's like, well, we're going to stick with that. And, other shows are all inclusive, and hey, that's fantastic. But for us, we're Ford powered. And then, as you may know, I know you and I have talked about this now, 2 out of the 5 of us, we've added another member, but 2 out of the 5 of us work for Ford.
Yeah.
So, it's, Glenn and myself, and, it's fantastic. I mean, so anyway, but I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do with it. Whether or not you broom it and say, hey, I'm going to let somebody else do what they want, or if you keep it in the family, give it some love and fix it up a bit, and even a heart transplant. It's going to be exciting. It's got good bones, and it's a 4-eyed notchback. You can't go wrong.
This is it, buddy. Funny enough, my oldest, who all the kids, well, they got me as a dad, so like they're around vehicles, and hell, we're driving down the road and I'm talking vehicles to them, like it's just, if it's in your blood, it's in your blood, right? So it's in theirs whether they like it or not. Something came up at the house one night about like what I should do with this car. And I thought, well, because it's obviously not a real shiny specimen, but like everything works. You know what I mean? If you've been here since the start, folks, you've seen the car. So you kind of know where I'm going with this. But anyway, I said, maybe it'd be nice, like if I just did a couple things with it just to kind of like say that I had my hands on it, and then, and maintaining that kind of like OEM, let's just fix the signal, the marker light and stuff like that. And then let someone else maybe have their way with it. Maybe somebody's looking for like just a bone stock, like this car. Exactly. Right. And anyway, my oldest daughter, who she's always talked about wanting like a square body Chevy or like some sort of a pickup, right, for getting around, at least as long as we're up here in the north. And she perks right up. She goes, "You're not selling that car." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "I thought that car was for me." I'm like, "You want to show up in a dyed, or faded blue, black interior, yellow 79 notch to high school?" She's like, "Damn right I do." I'm like, "Okay, right? You're still in the will.
There you go. Well, hey, you never know. Again, it's cool, and it's got potential.
Yeah, I think so too. I know, and I mean it. You brought it up earlier, like kind of picked it up for a song, so it owes me nothing.
Mhm.
We'll see. I guess. Stay tuned.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what you're going to do with it, buddy. Like I said, so
Yeah. Well,
but
I can't thank you enough for doing this, buddy. I know we've been talking about it for a long time. I'm glad we could finally connect and do it. I hope it sounds like, based on what I'm kind of picking up in the comments here, everybody enjoyed it. Yeah, I think you hit a home run with at least taking us to school and, going around this thing and showing some of its cooler features. So thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate you
no,
taking the
thank you
time.
for having me. It's your idea and your car. I'm just happy to. I love to teach, especially about this stuff. And for some reason, it's my brain is full of this kind of ridiculous knowledge and I say it all the time. I probably said it on different podcasts, with you guys, and for some reason I know these cars better than I probably know anything else.
Yeah.
As sad as that might be. But it's been a pleasure, my friend, as always, and I hope somebody got some enjoyment out of it on some level. And
Yeah.
we rambled on for hours and on one little old
As we do.
old beater. So
Yeah.
all right, my friend. Well, thank you so much.
Here, stick around, buddy. We'll let everybody else go. Thanks so much, guys, for doing this with us, and we hope you enjoyed it. And this will be up. We're going to put it up on the podcast and all that stuff. So next week, if you want to buzz back in and hear it again or share it with your friends, however that works. So thanks for tagging along with us, guys. We appreciate you. And till next time.
Have a good
Thanks.
night, guys. Thanks. Take care.
Night, guys.